Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. I hope everybody had an amazing Father's Day weekend this past weekend. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Monday morning, brother?
Doing well. We're in the weeds of the dead period. So, thanks to everybody for tuning in, but plenty to talk about as we get ready for training camp, and better to be the reigning Super Bowl champions than not, is what I would say about the Philadelphia Eagles. So
yeah, no doubt about it, Johnny Mac. Yep.
And the NFL, as I said, the great players, they know they have to still do stuff when there's a dead period. You can take a week or two off, but tight end universities coming up later this month. Lane Johnson, offensive line masterminds, I believe, is early July. So guys will be working out with each other because you have to. You can't just shut it down for 5-6 weeks. Maybe take a week or two and recharge the batteries, but better be ready to go on July 23rd.
Yep, I think all the Eagles will be, so we'll be following all along. We got plenty of stuff, as John pointed out, to talk about before we get to that training camp. July 22nd, right, John, is when they report for training camp, I believe, and then 23rd they're on the field?
Yeah, that is the tentative schedule. The official schedule's not out, but yeah, you can be pretty comfortable. That's the report date, and first practice will be the 23rd, but and we'll know more about that. Generally, if it holds true, it'll be in the morning. So that's when we shift to doing a 2-hour show at night, at least during the days where they're practicing, because it's a little bit too early. But who knows? There's always changes, and we have to see when the schedule comes out.
Yeah, so it's a good thing to let the people know that now. I forgot we did that last year. There was what we do it like a couple of days a week normally, or 3 days a week, however many practices it calls for. But we'll shift the show around if need be, but we'll always give you guys 2 hours, which is our promise. John, here we are, middle of the offseason now as we prep for training camp. The one thing I want to touch on before we move on is just the rookie contracts. I saw the article you wrote, and it's interesting, John, the way this is going. And there's nothing to be concerned about. There's one draft pick left for the Eagles to sign. It's Drew Makuba, our second-round draft pick, who was a safety, the last one. But there's a stalemate, John, in the NFL across all the second-rounders. And I think they're up to what? Pick 34 is fully guaranteed, and then anything after that, they're still fighting. How far do you think that will go? And then maybe just explain what I meant there for those who do not understand those second-round contracts.
Well, now when the new CBA took over and whatever it was, when the landscape changed, Sam Bradford was the last sort of bonus baby over the old contract, over the old CBA, when he had all these holdouts in the old days. For people that remember, with rookie players, it was a big issue at times for certain organizations. So they made it a point to sort of rework the entire system, try to reward the veteran players more than the rookie players who were unproven to a certain degree. Now, they still make significant money, obviously. But as you go year over year, completely fully guaranteed 4-year contracts are now, for those who don't know, are now the typical way of doing business in the first round. So first rounders get fully guaranteed contracts. I think a lot of people don't realize that, because it's always been a thing about, should football players get guaranteed contracts? The first round rookies get full 4-year guarantees. That has never seeped into the second round until this year. Jaden Higgins was the first to get it from Houston, the 34th overall pick. Once he got it, the 33rd overall pick, Carson Schlesinger from Cleveland, from UCLA, who went to Cleveland, he got a fully guaranteed deal. And now it's 35. Nick Emenwari from South Carolina, Seattle drafted him. He'll want it. And, that's the whole push and pull. When you talk about there's only 40 draft picks were unsigned. I haven't even checked over the weekend if anybody signed, but there were 40 as of Friday, and 30 of them are the second rounders from 35 on down to Andrew Makuba at 64. And that's why, because they're all waiting. It's a slotting system. How far down is it going to go? It's not going to go to Makuba, but
no. Maybe it maybe gets to 30, 38?
If that,
If that.
For whatever reason, people are pushing for it in the NFL both ways, obviously. And it's a big deal to go down as far as possible. And it'll eventually trickle down probably to 64, but not at this stage. So for Makuba, I mean, because it is a slotting system, and there is a little bit of give and take in the second round and the fourth round when it comes to different things and guarantees and offset money and things like that. There is a little bit more room for negotiation. So if you're Makuba at 64, you don't want to sign until you think about RJ Harvey's at 60, Trey Amos at 61, Shamar Turner at 62, Omar Norman Lott at 63. Till someone in that grouping signs and you kind of get the lay of the land, that's when Makuba's camp will act. But it's nothing to worry about.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just fascinated.
No, I know. I'm not saying. Yeah, there's a lot of people who still have that mentality because they grew up.
Right.
How is the rookie going to sign? Is this, is that? It's not an issue, but it is taking a little bit more time. I remember Landon Dickerson signed late, and Jody was worried about it. And I was like, don't worry about it. He'll be here. Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard for people that were around under the old system to understand the new system where it's really just sort of waiting for your slot more than anything else.
Just a little bit of semantics in there. But good stuff. We'll see when Makuba signs, and we'll see how it all shakes out in the second round. But all the other rookies are signed for the Birds, so just Drew Makuba to go, and I expect that will be done before training camp coming in. John, I want to talk to you about something before we get Jeff Kerr on today. I'm looking forward to talking to Jeff as always. But I've been thinking about these sophomore players, Johnny Mack, in this weekend. And boy, does this defense need the sophomore players to really have a good year. I know Quinyon Mitchell obviously had a great rookie year. Cooper DeJean had a great rookie year. I think Jalix Hunt, I know he didn't statistically dominate, but I think he had a great rookie year based on what we expected when they drafted that player as a project player. And now you have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. sitting in as the starting linebacker for right now. Boy, Johnny Mack, that defense needs these sophomore players to have a good year. What do you expect from some of those guys as I say those names coming into year two? What comes to mind for you, Johnny Mack?
Well, I mean, I think Quinyon and Cooper at the top have already proven themselves to be good NFL players. Are they going to have the same types of seasons they had in year one? That's debatable, but they're going to be good players. Jalix Hunt, a lot more is going to be counted on him. And I think he had a strong spring. I think he's going to be starting edge defender unless the Eagles bring somebody in from outside the organization. And I think he's going to be better than maybe a lot of people around the nationally perceive that he's going to be better here, because everybody's so hyped up. I don't know if he's going to live up to those expectations, but I think he's going to be fine. Will Shipley, I've said, for whatever reason, some people are down on him. He's going to be the backup running back. I don't have any question about that. The running back two, Trotters, you mentioned, probably your week one starting linebacker opposite Zach Bond. Depends who's going to play Mike, who's going to play Will. That's dependent on sort of Vic's feel, but in theory, Trotter would be better equipped for middle linebacker than weak side, but we'll see how that shakes out. But he's only starting for injury purposes, obviously. Down the road, it might be Jahad Campbell first, then Nakobe Dean. But, when those guys are back, obviously, they'll be inserted into the lineup. And then Anaya Smith, I would say, is fighting for his roster spot. Trevor Keegan, a lot of bodies there, probably fighting for a roster spot. Johnny Wilson, I think, is going to make the team because of what he offers as a blocker. And this is still a run-first offense. And obviously the last one, Dylan McMahon, is not here anymore. So, some guys expected to take a step up, Hunt, Shipley, Trotter. Some guys in the same role, probably Johnny Wilson, very limited role. Smith and Keegan sort of got that 1-year dispensation card. Now they got to go earn a roster spot. And then, like I said, that Quinyon and Cooper are good players. Are they going to have the same types of year that it's going to be tough to live up to, especially in the case of Quinyon? Because remember, he's now the guy.
Yeah, right. Last year he did play. Yeah, I mean, that's a big jump.
Yeah. He's playing left corner, not right corner. That's a big difference, believe it or not. So,
how much
a lot
do
more
corners struggle at that? Like, John, you know how people talk about offensive linemen where it's like really a big thing if an offensive lineman can play both sides. Not everybody can do it, and some struggle mightily. Is it the same at corner or a little bit of a lesser extent?
No, I think it's a much lesser extent. It's not about the side. It's about the responsibility, because most quarterbacks are right-handed,
Right.
almost all of them, and they're right hand dominant, and that means they're going to go to that side of the field much more. That means the best receivers are on that side of the field much more. Just ultimately, the natural progression of a right-handed quarterback is going to be more on that side of the field. That's why you put your best corner on that side of the field. It's more to do with that. Generally, corners moving around doesn't bother many of them. More the issue with, if you think about guys that travel, and the Eagles have had some defensive coaches that don't like to travel corners. Vic being one of them. That's because of the impact it has on the others in the secondary from a communication standpoint. So if somebody like Slay can handle it, that's great, but I think people don't think about the layered effect. Well, if Slay's covering and moving wherever, that means somebody else is moving to where maybe they're less comfortable from a communication standpoint. So that's the bigger issue than playing left or right. Wide receivers or cornerbacks are the best athletes on the field. They're not shaken.
Yeah, it's not as set in stone either, like the movement. But I did want to ask that. What's your confidence level in Quinyon, John? I mean, I'm really confident in the guy. He had a great rookie year, but I do acknowledge that 1 year in the NFL isn't enough to make a career. You got to continue to do it, and he does have a lot bigger burden on his shoulders this year with no Darius Slay.
Yeah, I think he's a really good player, but I think it's one of those situations where he might be getting better as a player, and people won't understand that he's getting better as a player because he's given up a little bit more because he's getting targeted more because of the natural stuff that I talked about. And people are adjusting to what he did well last season. That factors into it as well. So I think he might get better as a player, but be perceived as not as good as his rookie season. One of those types of deals.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. And then you got Cooper. I'm excited to see where Cooper ends up. I feel like he's going to end up back in the slot, but who knows? I mean, what's your gut feeling on where Cooper DeJean ends up on this defense?
Yeah, I think he's still going to be in the slot for the majority. Obviously, he's going to be a 3-down player. So in the rare instances they are in base defense, which I hate using, but since everybody uses it, we'll use it. So when they have just two corners on the field, he'll be playing opposite Quinyon Mitchell on the outside. Mainly obviously a corner. I don't expect him to play safety because I think, McCoob is going to be good enough to where they get him on the field, or at least from their perspective. Same thing with Ringo. So I do expect him to stay in the slot for the majority of the time. But, if one of those two players has a bad camp, yeah, Bickus said he'll play where he needs to play. So he's got confidence in him playing anywhere. But right now, after the spring, I think signs are pointing in a positive direction for both Kaylee Ringo and Drew Makuba, I would say.
Yeah, and maybe no bigger jump in responsibilities from year 1 to year 2 than that of Jalix Hunt. When Jalix Hunt got here last year, John, you had Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith, and then you had maybe Jalix Hunt, and there might have been some other guys I'm leaving out who were here in camp last year that Jalix jumped over. Now it's Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. I mean, you got 3 edge rushers who were in front of Jalix Hunt last year that are now officially off the team following the trade of Bryce Huff, obviously the departure of Josh Sweat and the retirement of Brandon Graham. I mean, they're counting a lot on Jalix Hunt to be a big player in year 2 for this defense.
Yeah, I mean, they have some insurance in Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche, so they do have some insurance. But I think, after seeing it in the spring, clearly they want Jalix Hunt to be the guy, to be that second edge rusher opposite Nolan Smith, and then the other guys will be rotational players. But and you need a 4 or 5 man rotation on the edge, but. Yeah, they want Jalix to be that guy. And I don't, I'm not comfortable with that, to be honest.
No?
No. I'm more comfortable with it, but I just think that is such an important position. The adage in the NFL now is either get the quarterback, meaning, get a top level quarterback, or if you don't have what top level quarterback, get to the quarterback. And you've seen that in Super Bowls. You've seen it with Tom Brady. You've seen it with Patrick Mahomes. Get to the quarterback if you don't have the big time quarterback. And that is, you can do it in different ways. Jalen Carter's a big part of it. Milton Williams last year. Hopefully Mora Jomo takes a step up. On and on, you can do it from the interior. But you generally need some impactful edge rushers. Again, it doesn't have to be TJ Watt, but you also don't want a bunch of 4, 5, 6 sack guys on the outside. You need a finisher, you need a closer, and hopefully that's Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt can be the complement to that. And like I said, I think he's got a big upside, but you're extrapolating basically 300 snaps into 700-800 and basically when that the thought process last year for most teams was probably like, all right, Jalix Hunt is over there. We're not going to worry about him too much, especially when you got to worry about Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Nolan Smith, the way he was playing. So, all that factors into it as well. It'd be nice to have a more proven situation at edge rusher, but again, not every team in the NFL has issues. The Eagles have less issues than every other NFL team.
Yeah, no doubt about
but
it.
This is one of the issues.
John, do you have a player comp for what you think Jalix Hunt could become in the NFL?
Not really. I'm not a big comp guy.
I know you're not. I didn't want to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to think of like what his or at least where you're gauging what his upside could be. If you don't want to give a comp, that's fine. But maybe just speak a little bit about that.
Well, I think his upside is a double-digit sack guy. I think he's got that potential. How quickly he gets there is another question. Milton Williams just made himself $26 million annually. Look at how long it took him to develop till he turned it on. Like the assumption, like I think Quignon's success early, Cooper's success early, kind of broke people, like to assume that, all right, well, they're good. Why can't so and so be good? They're kind of outliers. And that's why I think you're going to see some more hiccups for both of them this year.
Well, remember, John, we also had Devontae Smith and we also had Jalen Carter. We've had a lot of rookies performing in year one on this team in the last couple of years.
Well, they perform, but even if you look at Devontae, and Devontae was probably ill-suited to be a wide receiver one at the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first year in the league, one, yeah.
I think he did a good job as a rookie. Even Jalen Carter, who I often say is, the most talented Eagle. He's not the best Eagle yet. He's on his way, but he's the most talented Eagle. And in his rookie season, he was, very good, but he only played whatever. I don't have it in front of me, but he spiked from like 500 snaps. Jeff will probably know, to 1,100 last year. Like he didn't. Right. That was one of the issues with Jalen Carter. He didn't play a ton of snaps and the conditioning and all that. And then he just took off in his second year. So even they were very effective for rookies. And I still think Jalen Carter should have been defensive rookie of the year. He was second. But, he wasn't the Jalen Carter from last year as a rookie. Not even close.
No.
So, there's that incremental improvement. Now, again, I think Quinyon Mitchell might get better in his second year, but I don't think it'll be framed as him being better. Same thing might happen with Cooper DeJean.
Right. I see what you're saying with that. Let's get the one super chat, and then we got the great Jeff Kerr joining us here on Birds 365. Looking forward to talking to Jeff Kerr. Suo Blaze, member for 9 months. Good morning, fellas. Suo, good morning, my friend. Good to see you in here. And Wolfie Wolf checks in. Wolfie Wolf, I like that name. $5. Thank you, Wolfie. He says, who will be the leader on the defense? Is there an emerging voice in the locker room? Also, I drew you guys a picture. Where do I email? Wolfie, if it's a cool picture, I'll take it. If it's a goofy picture, keep it out of the inbox. Zander at jakibmedia.com. Thank you, brother. John, your thoughts on his questions about the D there, the leader on the D, and is there an emerging voice in the locker room?
Well, there's two ways. So there's on field and off field. On field, the leader is Hurt, Nakobe Dean. And then the secondary sort of a step behind is Reed Blankenship. Those are the on-field leaders. That one of the issues without Nakobe is who's going to take over that role. Zach Baum did it at the end of last season. Vic's very comfortable with it, but I think they would like Zach to be on the weak side and somebody to handle the middle role because there's more responsibility. He can do more things if he's playing weak side linebacker. So that's to be determined. If Trotter wins the middle linebacker job, he's going to be a starter. But if he wins the middle linebacker job, he'll be the on-field leader. That's just the nature of it. But for Brandon Graham and Darius Slay, the leaders off the field, that's a bigger question mark. Again, Nakobe would be one of those guys, but he's not healthy. He's just the natural leader. I think Nolan Smith has a chance to be that type of guy, as an energy guy.
Yep.
I think Jordan Davis is sort of the leader on the defensive line. People look to him.
Do you think he's got to do more on the field for that off the field leadership to become even more effective, if that makes sense?
No, I don't think so. Because you look at Brandon late in his career, he wasn't playing like he was early in his career. He was
but he kind of earned it, right? Like it's one thing to earn it versus Jordan, hasn't ever proved really what Brandon did in the peak of his career.
Well, I think to the people there he has, and the people there already look to him. Like he's already the guy that people follow, which is crazy because he's so young, but their whole defense. That's part of the problem. They don't have a ton of veteran experience, but
yeah, no, they're young, man. Really young.
Yeah, he's already had that role with the defensive linemen. They kind of looked at Jordan Davis. So I would say that doesn't change with the interior guys I'm mainly speaking of, but because they're in a different room than the edge guys. But they do get together, obviously, at times and work, and Jordan's a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, Slay and BG, man, they were glue players, and you can't just replace 15-year veterans and whatever Slay's played over a decade. It takes 15 years. And there's not too many players that play 15 years with the same team. So
true, man.
You're taking a step back from that standpoint. Yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Wolfie, thank you for the super chat, brother. I look forward to seeing whatever picture this is that's coming to my email. Thank you, brother. We appreciate it. Let's go to our main man, Jeff Kerr, set to join us here on Birds 365. You can follow him at Jeff Kerr, CBS, and read all his work at cbssports.com. The great Jeff Kerr. How you doing this Monday morning, brother? Good to see you.
I heard the sky was falling with the Phillies season. I guess it's back on track.
It's back on? Yeah. I thought it was over. I can't keep up with it, Jeff.
We were having a lot of us writers were laughing in the press box yesterday about a Matt Gelb story that came out about he wrote a feature on Zach Wheeler, right? It was an awesome piece, by the way. If you're a Phillies fan, I suggest you read it. But, he was talking about Wheeler retiring in 2027 after the 2027 season when this contract ends, which Zach Wheeler has told us for months and months and months, and has been reported for months and months and months. Yet yesterday it decided to be national news.
Why is everybody obsessed with retirements? I mean, Saquon said the same stuff recently. It's like, to me, it's pretty common sense wise. And, if he's banged up and he doesn't feel like he can perform, he wants to be one of those guys that walks away at the top of his game. Why worry about it?
Everybody is obsessed with stuff that hasn't happened yet. Perfect example. Otto Kemp's crushing it right now. Well, Phillies can't send him down when Bryce Harper comes back. That's wonderful. Bryce Harper isn't coming back for another month. They got a month.
Solve that problem when it arrives.
Exactly. I'm telling you, everybody thinks they're a GM because they play Madden. It's ridiculous.
Well, and that, extends to all sports, and that'll be Jeremiah Trotter Jr. probably early this season. Hey, man, that's the luxury of playing time. Maybe you got it in a different way than you wanted to get it because of injuries, but if you play well, you can open some eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll find a spot for you. I'm sure the Eagles will find a spot for Trotter if he has a good camp.
Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of players like that in the Eagles right now, getting playing time.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm excited about this training camp. We're going to be seeing guys that, not that they were on the bench last year, but they just didn't get a chance to play, and now they are, and we'll get to see how good they are.
Yeah, Jeff, let me ask you. We started with Johnny Mack and I started on the open of the show talking a little bit about just the sophomore players. I mean, Jeff, a lot of losses on this defense. You got Quinion, you got Cooper, you got Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who's probably going to be that week one starter, assuming the other guys are still injured. And then Jalix Hunt. A lot hinging on these guys, Jeff, and even guys like Quinion and Cooper, who I happen to be very confident on. I will admit 1 year in the NFL is not enough to be a proven player. A lot of guys there that on that sophomore class, Jeff, that need to step up this year for the Eagles defense.
Yeah, but this is what the Eagles thought when they drafted a lot of these guys, right, Zander? Like they thought Quinton Mitchell was going to be this guy or Cooper DeJean was going to be this guy. And I think we talked about this last week. I always think it's funny how you get people around the NFL, they like to talk crap on Quinton Mitchell, but they don't talk crap on Cooper DeJean. Because I think they know Cooper DeJean is really, really good. And they're holding reservations on Quinton Mitchell. So this is a big year for Quinton Mitchell, which, again, I think he'll have a good year. But, Jalix Hunt, look at what he is going to have a golden opportunity this year. If the Eagles don't have a pass rusher. And he's just one of those guys I feel.
Now, I'm gonna push back, Jeff. Who gives crap to Quinton Mitchell?
Well, we know who's giving crap.
Defensive Rookie of the Year voting, I believe.
We do know who's giving crap. there's a certain player on the Cowboys that doesn't have to cover.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, like if you ask CD, I don't get caught up in that stuff because if you ask CD Lamb about insert name, Pat Surtain, Trent McDuffie, Derek Stingley, Jalen Johnson, who I think is the best cornerback in football. If you asked him the same thing, he'd say the same thing. If you ask AJ, he'd say the same thing. That's what always Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
I just thought it was ironic you didn't decide to pick on Cooper DeJean when you're picking on Quinyon Mitchell.
Well, I think didn't they specifically, and I don't recall, didn't they specifically ask him about Quinyon Mitchell? Like nobody asked him about Cooper. He'd say the same thing about Cooper DeJean.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he would, but they decided to pick on him. That's what I don't. Again, I wish the Cowboys would put more energy into actually winning football games than the stupid stuff they like to do.
You know, I don't want players who aren't confident in their abilities. Generally, good NFL players are confident in their abilities. Now, Quinyon's understated, very quiet, but if you ask Quinyon's in there talking trash to AJ as a rookie.
Yeah, he was talking trash in minicamp last year.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, that you have to have confidence to play that game. You have to. That stuff doesn't bother me at all. I thought you were talking about, you know, media people or fans or, you know, if you ask a player, boy, and they're saying, ooh, I don't know if I can deal with Cooper DeJean as a big time receiver in the NFL or Quinyon Mitchell. I don't want that receiver. I mean, what are we doing?
Well, it's not even the confidence thing. It's just, I just thought it was funny that you kind of stay away from...
Your guy Micah asked him that question. I believe specifically he asked about Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, didn't he say like they're saying he's Quinyanimo Bay or Quintanimo Bay or whatever it was?
It's been a while since I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. But it's been a while.
He would have said the same thing about Cooper, and he's a very good player. Quinyon's a very good player.
CD Lamb's a very
Cooper's
good player.
a very good player.
But the discourse on Quinyon's interesting because as good as a player as he was last year, you know, you can say, many will say, he's not a lockdown corner because he doesn't play man, you know.
Well, but I would argue that every single NFL corner who plays in a predominantly zone gets that same criticism.
Yeah, they do.
And the best corners are considered the press corners. That's why Jalen Ramsey didn't like Vic Fangio's scheme. Right. Jalen Ramsey's going to the Hall of Fame because he's a press coverage corner. Jalen Johnson, why do I think he's the best corner in the NFL? Because he's a press coverage corner and he's damn good at it. Jair Alexander, who we're going to talk about.
Don't get me started, John.
Well, I want to get Jeff started. Is a press cover corner. Those are the guys that are going to get noticed. And that's one of the, you know, that's the give and take when you have to manage guys. Not that Quinyon can't play press coverage a lot. We don't know. I mean, he was predominantly an off coverage player at Toledo, and the Eagles drafted him because he's a great off coverage player hitting the NFL for Vic Fangio. That's what you're supposed to do.
He's doing his job and he's doing it well. I mean, I think his passer rating in the postseason was like 17 or something when quarterbacks attacked him. And I think it was in the single digits before he let up a late completion when the game was over in the Super Bowl.
But this is also where, you know, sort of people and, you know, I'm not going to pick on any, but people who don't understand what the defense is, and they'll put up little clips of, oh, he locked down this and he locked down that, not understanding it's, you know, cover 3 or quarters or, you know, and what the responsibility is. So there's all that conflates it. But he's an off-cover corner. He's a damn good one, and that's what the Eagles play. That's how you're supposed to draft.
Yeah, you draft to fit your scheme. You don't draft to put a square peg in the round hole, and you don't sign free agents to put in a square peg in the round hole. The Eagles tried that once. It's called the Dream Team.
And maybe it can be a great press cover corner. You're not going to know as long as Vic's here, and who cares? Because I don't want to get rid of Vic, and I don't want to get rid of Quinyon. So who cares?
Yeah, it seems to work, right?
Yeah. Worked pretty well last year.
Probably will work well again this year.
Yeah. Yeah. But now let's talk about the other side, because I want you to get that platform. Jair Alexander. We see, my God,
Jesus.
like what are we talking about? Now, I don't want to pick on CBS, but I sent you that little thing.
And I laughed because I knew who it was from and what it was.
The prediction was the Eagles will sign Jair Alexander for a 1-year, $16 million contract. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What is going on? Like, I get it. You can't, because I used to do it and be more from a national perspective. And it's tough to keep up on the nuts and bolts of 32 teams. But everything the Eagles have done this offseason has told you that they are saving cash for what's coming. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean down the road. They are setting themselves up so they can pay those players, reward those players, and keep things going in a positive direction.
They're rewarding their front office for drafting really good players.
Yeah, well, that's part of it too, but mainly they're really good players, and they've made this demarcation line. So I think one of the things that people don't understand, well, it's 1 year. It's not about the cap. It's about the cash. It's worse that it's 1 year, because you got to pay that $16 million to them, which is going to be guaranteed. No matter what it looks like with avoidable years, Jair Alexander's getting $16 million of cash in that circumstance. It's exactly what the Eagles don't want to do.
And I always say this. I get it. It's an all-season predictions article, but heaven forbid, let's just put the Eagles and this guy here, because that will get clicks and that will get engagement time.
Yeah,
like,
that's what it is.
That's why I get upset. It's like, stop linking the Eagles to everybody. You're 0 for 20.
But our site's 0 for 3,000. So
if they got paid for being right, though, they wouldn't have jobs, man. They're getting paid for the clicks they're bringing in. Jeff, don't hate the player.
Hey, you know what? I got great overreaction time.
I hate the game.
I got great engagement time. I do an overreactions piece, for mini camps and all this and that. But you got to put some substance to it, right? Like, I put the Steelers will win 10 games with Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't seem that far fetched, does it?
No.
Yeah, and like Steelers fans loved it.
But you're 9 games. That has credibility. Like, and I'm not trying to criticize people that don't have that, but there's a lot of people that have been brought into this industry that were not hired to have credibility, or or speak about anything like that.
I think this is the problem. Honestly, Zander, I think this is the problem. There's less of people like me and John that have been in the trenches, that were ingrained through the trenches, and now it's just aggregate.
Yeah.
And I'm not dealing with this like every day, and so there's no accountability.
No, there isn't. But again, they're hired to simply create controversy, clicks, and drama. You guys are not. You guys are reporting on the teams. It's a little different.
Yeah, and look, I've been in that. The Eagles should sign this person, or 3 potential targets. But I always tried to do some research to it. Like, if I'm going to do something like that, well, it's probably not a Vic Fangio fit. So probably not. I'm not going to go that route.
Well, I can't even get to that, because there's too many things to get to before you talk about the fit. But, one of the things that made me roll my eyes was, it was described as after minicamp assessments. And it's like, well, after minicamp, now granted, it's only 1 day, Kelee Ringo might have had the best day of his life.
I was going to say, and I didn't even write about it because everybody else is writing about it. I'm like, well, I'll go this way. But yeah, I mentioned a little blur, like, oh, by the way, Kelee Ringo might have locked down the outside quarterback job on just 1 practice. That's my overreaction.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. I mean, he's still got to play well over the summer and all that stuff. But my only point of bringing that up is, don't frame it as post. That's the worst time to talk about it, because that's when he played his best. But
what bothers me about Jair Alexander to Eagles anything is this whole offseason, John. I know you were told, I was told, they really like Kelee Ringo. This is their opportunity for Kaylee Ringo. Like, this is the guy they like. This is why they moved on from X, Y, and Z. It's for Kaylee Ringo. And for saving cash. And for saving cash.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's his job by any stretch of the matter. They want everybody to win a job, but
it's his job to lose, I would think.
There's differing degrees. Like when they were trying to spin the CJ trade to me, which again, it's about cash over cap. That part of it's real, but part of you also have to take everything, be adversarial. Obviously CJ's high maintenance personality factored into it as well.
And they're never going to admit that to you, by the way.
And it was also spun. Well, Sidney deserves a chance to compete. He's the 3rd round pick. He was really big. I don't think they like Sidney Brown as much as they lead on. Now, it's actually because of the change in defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a fit for Big Fangio, whereas when they drafted him, they loved him, but now he's not necessarily the best fit. So that's why Makuba's here, who's a better fit, at least from a playing perspective, trade standpoint for what Big wants to do. So sometimes they, blow a little smoke up. There's no doubt about that. And you got to be adversarial about it, but they do like Ringo a lot. And, if you think about it, they traded up in the 4th round when they drafted him. He's the youngest player in the NFL. He's younger than most of the cornerbacks that got drafted this year.
I don't even think he's 23.
He's 23, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he turns 23 this month, right? And then Quinyon's a year older than him, turns 23.
It's amazing. And he's got 2 years now of learning, 1 year of learning under Vic and Christian Parker. That's exactly what they want. Cost-effective guy for 2 years while you're paying Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith next year, and then the year after, Quinyon and Cooper. It's exactly what they want. And I'm stunned that people can't figure it out. They signed 12 stinking guys this offseason, Jeff. All of them, 1 year.
Yep. And not for a lot of money. Like, who was their highest free agent? Was it Aziz Ujulari?
Aziz, yeah. And even that's it was when it came out, it was 1 year, $3.5 million, but really it's 1 year up to $3.5 million. It's not even that high.
Think about this. If Devin White signed for the contract he signed last year, he'd be their biggest free agent sign.
Oh yeah. He got up to 7 in it. He was another guy. He was 1 year up to $7.5 million. I forget. He got maybe 4.
I said when they signed Ujulari and Uchi, I'm like, well, okay, there's got to be another move coming, right? But if they don't make a move, both of them make this team, right?
Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it unless they completely crap the bed in training camp.
I mean,
Ojulari got 1 year, $3 million, which is fully guaranteed.
Okay. But still, though, it's not a lot of money.
No. They can move on from him easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
And Uchi, what was it, 1.6? That sound right?
Uche was, I'll look it up because that's, remember you have the reported part of it and then the real part of it. I'm trying to get the real part.
You mean the agent part?
Yeah. You get the agent part and then the real part. I can't find Uche. Why can't I find him?
Maybe it doesn't exist.
He's got to, well, I'm looking at the top 51. He's got to be in the top 51. Yeah, there he is. Because the top 51 rule applies in the offseason. He signed a 1 year, $1.92 million deal with $1.25 million guaranteed.
Yeah. Not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you can get, the way Lane Johnson talked them up last week, if you can get 5 sacks out of that guy.
Not only, by the way, not only Lane, Jeff, but also Zach Bond brought him up.
Bond did too.
Unprompted. Both of them. Unprompted. that always holds weight with me when
Yeah.
guys are brought up unprompted.
I was glad I followed up with Lane too because I caught wind of that. He mentioned him unprompted. You're mentioning that 2023 opener. I remember Josh Uche was giving them problems at opener, and I said, "So what was it?" And Lane just went on a tangent.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'm a little bit, and it matters as well that it's Lane Johnson. Like when AJ tells me something, I always say it matters more.
Yeah.
It matters when it's Lane Johnson.
Yeah, the guy stonewalls 99% of edge rushers in the NFL. If he says there's a guy that's pretty good, I think he can take it to the bank.
Yeah, that's how.
The other player I want to ask you about, Jalen Hunt. I mean, last year this guy was a project player with, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, Brandon Graham, all in front of him. Now he's like the starting edge rusher, and the defense needs him to thrive in year 2. I mean, are you confident in that player, or do you have doubts on Jalen Hunt coming into year 2?
I'm more confident in the player, but if said player gets hurt, that's where I worry because, that's what bothers me about this whole thing. And I remember I told you guys this last week. Like, I don't have a problem with Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt as your starting edge rushers. You want to go with that, fine. You want to go with Ujari and Uchi as your backups, fine. But one of them gets hurt, you're in a pickle. It's like,
what do you mean? You got the other guys.
The other guy, yeah. So Mark Wahlberg's coming.
Yeah, that's a great movie, by the way. People should watch that.
Yeah, John and I like to quote the other guys a lot at Eagles practices.
Let me add that to my growing list of things I have to watch.
Zander, this is what I'm going to compare this to because I do cover 2 sports. The Eagles edge rushers are like the Phillies bullpen. On paper, you love them, right? But if one of them goes down or suspended, Jose Alvarado, all of a sudden you got a problem.
Yep, that's true. I see that. I can see what you're saying there.
So yeah, that's what it is. And look, guys can step up. Obviously, like I'll compare it again. Phillies, Ryan Kerkering has stepped up. Perfect example. I mean, Ujari and Uchi could step up, fine, or one of the other guys, fine. But it's still going to be a problem that's going to linger. And I don't know if you can win a championship with how it's currently constructed.
Patrick Johnson, baby,
who's back? How many times has he left? Once?
Just once. Yeah, he was here for a while, and then he got.
He was one of the last cuts last year, wasn't he, John?
Yeah, well, he made the team. Then he got cut in September, probably week 2-ish.
Then he went to the Giants.
They knew he was going to get claimed, and he got claimed by the Giants. That to me was a mistake because he's a good player and he's versatile. He's a great special teams player. He can rush from the edge, and he played all-ball linebacker a little bit as well.
I always forget who he got cut for. Who did they promote? Was it Paris Campbell?
That I'd have to look at.
I thought it was the week like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith were hurt, and they kind of needed.
Nick Gates.
Oh, it was Nick Gates.
It was an offensive lineman, and then we were like, the offensive lineman didn't get used. Meanwhile, they needed Patrick Johnson.
Yeah.
They needed Patrick Johnson.
Well, I think our buddy Ed Kratz didn't mind that move.
Yeah, Nick Gates is a great dude, but I mean, well, that was one of the problems they did. It's one of those things when they brought in Nick. I think it was a wink deal with Howie that said, "All right, we're gonna cut you to manipulate the roster at the initial 53, and then we're gonna bring you back because they needed a backup center. They felt they needed a backup center, and I think that was always in the works. It was like because they signed him a little bit later in training camp, veteran guy, a lot of experience. And I think there was sort of a wink deal.
I remember and Nick confirmed this to me, like the terms of their contract, it was, okay, we're signing you. We're promising you a promotion from the practice squad to the active roster in week 1 and 2, and then we're going to sign you. So yeah, that checked it out.
Yeah. And he, stuck around for the whole season. Got cut right before the Super Bowl, I think. Didn't he?
Was it the Super Bowl we got cut, or was it the NFC Championship? It was around that time.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
they
they took care of him, no doubt.
He was in the locker room celebrating.
Very, very good dude. Yeah. But anyway, that's what happened. They put him on injured reserve because they needed the spot for Brandon, and they put him on injured reserve. Came up with that Bantam injury.
All right, guys, let me ask you this. Which defense at this point in the year had more questions? This year's defense or last year's defense? I feel because I heard I think it was Zach Bowen on that Exciting Mike's podcast with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, or no, with Reed Blankenship, sorry. And he said, it feels like we're way ahead of where we were last year. And I do remember, before the season started, me, John, and everybody else on the planet had a whole lot of questions about the Eagles defense coming off the collapse. I think rightfully so. But it feels like even with questions right now, they are way lesser than what they were last year. What do you guys think?
It is funny you say that, Xander, because I remember you guys, I said this was a top 15 defense. It's probably a Super Bowl team. Well, they ended up first. So
first
number one, yeah. I said the same thing. If it was a top half defense, they'd be a significant contender. And they ended up number one.
I think there's less questions because I think we have more answers.
Well, here's how I phrase it, because I got asked that same question on the radio this weekend. And here's how for guys who are here like Zach, I think he's 100% right. They know the system. They're comfortable with the system. And him specifically, he was playing a new position. He's much more comfortable. So for the guys who were here, but there's tremendous turn, and the guys who were playing too, not even just about being here, but the guys who were playing. But there's tremendous turnover. So to me, it's like half and half. It's like, well, yes, the guys who are here and playing are much more comfortable than the uncertainty of a new defensive coordinator, sometimes new position, sometimes guys not playing before. But you still have to replace guys who were tremendous in this particular system. Milton, Josh, Slay, Isaiah, CJ, Oren Burks. That's the problem. The guys who are here, yeah, they're much more comfortable. But now that's a daunting list of players considering the way they played last season to have to replace at the same type of level.
Yeah, and I do think, John, I'm sure you've talked to Mike Gill a lot about this. You remember the one day Mike Gill came on here, Jeff Kerr, with a gallon of gasoline and a lighter.
He's a radio host. He's good at that.
I mean, even all the guys there that we feel good about, he's like Zach Bowen, 1 year player. Quinyon Mitchell's played good 1 year. Cooper DeJean, 1 year. Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, 1 year. And I'm like, holy shit, Mike Gill, you got questions on every spot on the defense.
He's right. He was ready, man. It's, if he had the hornet's nest, he was ready to throw it at you.
Yes, he was.
Well, I mean, they're fair critiques. I mean, I've said the same thing about, and I just said it about Quinyon. He might be a better player this year, but have a worse season by perception. Same with Zach Bowen. How is Zach Bowen going to live up to what he did last year? Might be a better player.
I think he was the first player in NFL history with like 150 tackles and 5 forced fumbles or something crazy like that.
You really think he's going to replicate that?
No. I mean,
even Saquon, we talk about all the time. He's not going to rush for 2,500 yards. I don't know what he's going to rush for, but I'm taking the under on that.
You know what, John? He might have the John McMullen 2024 stat line. And people wonder what's wrong with him.
Which, by the way, was a great stat line, even though everybody shit on me.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's because of who said it, not because of the prediction.
That's true, too. But yeah, there's a natural sort of regression to me. I say the exact opposite with Jalen Hurts. He's going to be better statistically. Yeah. No doubt in my mind he's going to be better.
I think Eagles fans will really enjoy that. He's going to be better. I think AJ Brown's going to be better.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, AJ's like a watch, though. He's like a Rolex.
Keeps on ticking.
He's just great. He was great last year.
Yeah.
He missed 4 games.
I know, and he's still at 1,100 yards. Like I feel like the conversation on AJ is off from last year, John.
I remember I posted.
I don't know anybody who doubts AJ as a player. I don't know anybody.
Yeah,
No, but I have heard, and maybe I've even been one to say AJ Brown didn't have as good of a year last year as he would have liked, as the offense would have liked, as anybody would have liked.
But
I should clarify. I don't know anybody in the football world. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the grifters and the engagement guys, but
well, AJ did make a comment middle of the year, John. I want the passing game to be better. I mean, I don't know if it's all grifting to say that AJ won.
He was asked what needs to improve. He said passing.
That's all he said.
That's all he said. And he's right. He's 100% right.
Yeah.
And the same post-game press conference, that was the Carolina game, I believe.
Yeah, but still, with that though, I don't think you can call people a grifter for saying AJ Brown wanted the ball more. I mean, clearly he had an issue with it.
Well, that's different than questioning his ability and his play.
Well, I mean, anybody.
That's what I'm talking about. Nobody questioned. Nobody in the NFL questions his ability to play. That's what I said.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anybody questioning his ability anymore. That's different than usage.
Yeah, usage. Yeah, that's up. Yeah, they didn't use him. Yeah,
I do think it's telling that he missed 4 games, had 1,000 yards, and was still a second-team All-Pro.
Yeah.
It's every year he's been here, he's been an All-Pro. That's all you need to know.
That's the opposite of disrespect. We often hear about the disrespect. Because there are much higher number guys, but he was still the All-Pro.
Honestly, I think this is how AJ Brown and Devonta Smith get the most compliment, because everybody says Jalen plays on a loaded team and anybody can win with those two.
Yeah, which you'll be hearing some of that coming up when camp gets. Nick was asked about that. He had a good answer. You'll enjoy it when we're able to talk about it. But that's always been a narrative that is kind of stupid to me, because, and Nick has said this in the past as well. Like who won a Super Bowl without a good team?
Yeah, Kurt Warner's a Hall of Famer with a loaded team. Deal with it.
Tom Brady had loaded teams. Joe Montana, whomever. Like who do you think's winning with these shitty teams?
Yeah, like John Elway, when he finally won a Super Bowl, you could go down the list and say, Ed McCaffrey, he's not a Hall of Famer, but he was pretty good. Rod Smith, he's pretty close to Hall of Fame. He's really good. Terrell Davis, he was a Hall of Fame. Everybody had these guys.
It's absurd. It's an absurd for anybody. Not only Jalen Hurts. You can't win a Super Bowl. In fact, more often there are lesser quarterbacks. The backups. And I want to bring up the backup in this town but say the Jeff Hostetler types. Trent Dilfer was a starter, but there's lesser quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl because they had great defenses or things like that. But no quarterback in the history of the game has ever won with a bad team, ever.
I still laugh to this. I know we're going a little history here. Super Bowl 52 was on last night, so I'm on the treadmill. I said I'm going to watch it. The Corey Clement play before the Philly special, after the 2-minute warning. You ever take notice of who was on the field when Clement had that big third down play?
If I did, I haven't recently, so I don't recall.
Mac Hollins, Trey Burton.
I mean, the magic of that season. I mean, just think about Corey Clement.
What happened to him?
Corey Clement's the Tim Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He really is. I was like, and that's the thing. Like, everybody hated Collinsworth for that Super Bowl, but Chris Collinsworth was just amazed. He goes, "Look who's on the field for this football team. This is against one of the top defenses in the NFL, and they just took them to school on this play." I'm like, the Eagles just went balls to the wall on everything in that game.
Yeah, Doug deserves more credit, but
read his book, by the way. His book is tremendous.
Yeah, I like a lot of people, it amazes me to this day, don't realize what being aggressive meant for the Philadelphia Eagles, because they were way ahead of the curve back then. Now teams have caught up to them a little bit. They're still one of the more aggressive teams, but obviously Detroit's gone even further.
Yeah.
There's a few teams, but back then they were on the forefront of it, and it really, really helped them. Really helped them.
Well, when the Philly special happened, they actually put a graphic up during the timeout. The Eagles had the most, and I remember writing a story about this. The Eagles had the most fourth down conversions and the most fourth down attempts by a team in NFL history, and they beat the 07 Patriots, which we all knew they were good. And this is when, like, Pierce and Foles are going, you want Philly. And Collinsworth goes, I wonder what they have up their sleeve. And, you know, they're thinking, like, okay, they got to create a 2-point conversion play, and that comes out. By the way, I love Al Michaels. Al Michaels is one of the greatest of all time. His call for that was so bad.
Yeah, Al's getting older.
He was blind.
Yeah, man.
He was blind. I think he was blindsided by the whole thing, like what happened. I think he was like trying to describe the play, and then he just went, "Oh, and it's Foles," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, I love that Tom dropped the ball too. They had a great play, and Tom dropped it.
I think that was the most popular meme like that offseason. Foles caught it, and Tom didn't.
Yeah, well, he did. He deserves credit. Yeah, that was a special team because, man, they probably talent-wise, the Eagles were the best team in football last year. So much better in hindsight than the Chiefs.
Like the 2014 would have kicked the 17 teams.
Oh, yeah. 17, they had no right being in that game, never mind winning it with who they were rolling out there. You bring up some of the Corey Clement, Matt Collins. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Backup quarterback, Jason Peterson. Halapuli Bati is your left tackle. It's insane.
Their 02, like the 02 and 04 Eagles teams were better than the 17 Eagles team, but it just shows you that you can't, it's not an exact science of winning the Super Bowl unless you're the 2024 Eagles.
Jody and I had some knockdown dragouts over. I told him the 2022 team was much better than the 2017 team.
Oh, they were. They blew out everybody.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And 24 was better than both.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2024 team. I mean, it's funny. We actually talk about this at CBS. We're doing our like quarter century teams this week. Everybody goes, where did the 2024 Eagles team fit? And all the Eagles haters were like, they're not that good. And like our historian, Brian Diardo, who's really, really good at this stuff, he goes, I think you guys might want to relook at that.
Yeah, that's one of the
we've had Diardo on the show before. I think it's
one of the best teams of the modern generation. I tend not to go back to, because the game has changed so much. Like, I'm not going to compare them to the 72 Dolphins or, because the game's completely different.
No.
But
it is kind of funny, though. Like, they're the first team to win with the number one defense and number one rushing game since like the 85 Bears. And, there's that comparison. And there's only like 4 teams in NFL history that's won 18 games, and they're one of them. Like, I know it's a longer season now, but 18 wins is 18 wins.
No, and that's why I don't even go back to the 85 Bears, because it's like, why? It's a completely different game. Yeah. But in this generation, in this game of football, in this era of football, it's one of the best teams ever.
Yeah. I think what's nuts about,
and by the way, the 2022 team is closer. I will say they're closer to the 2024 the team than people give them credit for. That was a very good team as well.
I agree.
Was a very good team as well.
Yeah, they're just with that 2024 team. I just keep thinking to myself, they would have won out if Jalen doesn't get hurt in that Commanders game. They would have won out.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, they might have. I don't know what he got hurt in Chicago in 2022.
Yeah, and he missed the Dallas game, and they almost won that game.
Yeah, I mean, they were damn good that year too.
By
the way, everybody's keeping this thing under wraps. Nick better damn well be one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL.
Seriously, like at least $10 million a year.
$10 million.
Yeah, I know.
Lowballing them.
I know I'm lowballing them, but that's why I said at least.
I don't know what Eskin knows, but we had Eskin on the afternoon show. He said it's around 15. He has
It
it on.
better
a good
be. It
portion
better
for
be.
him. I
It
don't know if
better
he's right or not. I'm just throwing it out there.
It better be 15 at least, and it should be more.
I think 15 would still be a little low. For
By the
where
way,
he
is there a reason why
It should be. He should be the highest paid coach in the NFL.
Is there a
Bottom
reason
line.
why we just don't know coaches' salaries?
Yeah, it's not. They don't have to be filed, so it's easier to keep that. If there's no union,
Yeah, that's true.
they don't. So if everybody keeps it quiet, you can keep it quiet. You can't keep you. Well, I guess you could, but it's really hard to keep player contracts because they're filed with the union and it becomes public. So coaches, not the same thing. So if they want to keep it quiet, they can keep it quiet. And so far they've done a good job of
Everything. It's a multi-year extension.
Yeah. Well, it better be well over. I mean, at least 15 million. That's low balling. I mean, Andy makes 20. That's the report.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
believe.
Yeah, that's right. Andy makes.
It should be 21, to be honest.
Andy should. If I was Andy, I'd just keep coaching. He's
Well, I mean, I think he will until Andy's getting old, though. I mean, at some point you do age out.
Yeah,
One of the things I love about Andy Reid, he's 67. He's one of the most innovative coaches in the game. Like everybody talks about, oh, you got to do this, you got to. The 67-year-old guy does more innovative stuff than anybody else.
Yeah. By the way, John, my favorite, there's so many Andy Reid detractors. Not here, but there are Eagles fans that can't stand the guy for whatever reason. It's stupid. They're spoiled Eagles fans. I'll say it. I'll call it spade a spade. Oh, Andy Reid can't win without Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid the only reason he wins is because of Patrick Mahomes. Who drafted Patrick Mahomes? Who told the Chiefs to go up and get this guy? Shut up. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
And as you saw last year, having Patrick Mahomes is no guarantee for winning.
Oh,
you
by the way,
build a football team.
By the way, you're this same stupid fan mindset thinks Donovan McNabb is the shittiest quarterback ever. Okay, I'll play that game. If Donovan McNabb is the shittiest quarterback ever, then why did Andy Reid win so many goddamn games with him? Come on.
Yeah, well, if you don't, quarterback evaluations, bro. I talk about it all the time. And by the way, the most innovative defensive mind in the NFL is 66 years old.
Yeah.
Which is big fans,
By the way, he was at the Phillies game on Saturday, John.
I loves the Phillies.
He loves his Phillies. Loves his Phillies. Loves chatting about the Phillies, and then maybe you can get an Eagles question or two in there. But I'd rather just talk to Vic about the Phillies.
I think he'd rather have the Phillies win than the Eagles. I'm joking, but it's close.
I don't think you're too far off on that.
It's close.
Yeah, he won the Super Bowl. He's like, I don't really care. It doesn't change me. I'm the same guy. John, you might be right. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely more of a Phillies fan than he is an Eagles fan.
Well,
that's the team he works for.
Well, yeah, you're in the midst of it. You're in the muck of it. I get it. The Phillies are his getaway, so it's a little bit different, from the grind of doing it. And I hope people understand. I'm joking. He wants the Eagles to win.
Him and Rob Thompson have the same personality too. That's what I think is hilarious. Like everything's like, okay, yeah, we lost. I'll say what I need to say, but yeah.
Well, I think you have to have a certain mindset to be a coach because you understand that bad things, adversity is going to happen, as Nick always says. It's going to happen, and you have to be able to handle it. So the worst thing you can do as a coach is to panic and act like the world is dry, ending.
I've acted like the world is ending to a couple players over the past year.
Yeah, so that's smart, but it's interesting. Somebody just brought it up, and you were bringing it up with talking about, and I brought it up talking about innovation. But there's somebody asked Coach Voss on Twitter, where's the true innovation been on defense in the NFL over the past couple of years? And he mentioned a couple of things. He mentioned Drew Pease, his Tampa 2 stuff. And he mentioned Fangio 3 times. like, it's amazing when you see, and I consider it my way. Like I'm not comparing myself to Big Fangio, but I'm supposed to be the old closed-minded guy. Like you got to be open-minded. And that's what Vic and Andy do better than anybody else on their respective sides of the ball. And it's ironic to me. Everybody well, you got to have the young coach. You got to have they're the innovators. And he also mentioned Flores, who does some stuff. Eberflus, who does some too high stuff that's pretty good. Not as a head coach, but as a defensive guy.
He definitely was. He was content gold last year, Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, well, head coach, but he's a good defensive coach,
Yeah,
and I think unfortunately you'll see that with the Cowboys this year. But he also mentioned Fangio's sight on concepts and coverage, which we talked about earlier with Quinyon, and people not understanding. Like their man match concepts are insane to the point where people literally don't know it's not man coverage because it's so smooth. And half of it is, I shouldn't even say half of it. It's not even about the scheme. It's not even about coming up with the idea, although that's a big part of it. It's about being able to teach it and to teach it to young players. Like Sean Desai was trying to teach that to him the year prior. The same exact shit.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I was told it was the most complicated defense they ever learned. We're trying to learn.
That is the part that it's incredibly hard to get young people to understand that. And even Jonathan Gannon did it very well in 2022 because he was running the same scheme for people that don't know. But they shit the bed in the biggest moment where they all miscommunicated. That never happened last year. You had a little, nobody's perfect. You had little spots, but for the most part, it was unbelievable.
I really wonder.
Yeah, those man match concepts are insane to the point where I'm like, if I were a head coach, to be honest, I'd be like, we're not doing this because this isn't going to work. Because these guys are going to fuck this up.
That's where I was going with that, by the way, John. Like, if you're you're just thinking to yourself, like, this is too complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know. It worked. And I think a lot of things worked for that team last year. Talent, like you said last week, what did Vic say? They got to have talented players.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's very. I mean, he's been coaching for 40 years. He's probably been regarded as the best defensive coach for about 15, 20 years, maybe 15-ish. And he never won a Super Bowl till last year. It's hard. It's hard to win Super Bowls.
And he acted like it was no big deal too when he finally got one.
Well, because I think that's his mindset. It's like his mindset is to get my group of players better. I think that's the mindset of every coach, every good coach. Whatever you have, because you can't control what you have. That's going to be the GM or the head coach, depending on the situation. You can't fully control what you have. So your goal is to make what you do have the best it can possibly be. And that's his philosophy.
I thought the coolest thing was Vic didn't really show too much emotion after winning. I remember when Chris Jenkins hit the buzzer beater when Jay Wright's first national championship. First thing he does, go over and shake the opposing coach's hand. Yeah, we won. The play worked. It didn't work in the Big East championship game. It worked in the national championship game because Archie didn't slip.
Well, and Vic got it. And when Vic was telling that story, he was talking about Dean Smith. He was like, people who don't, longtime college basketball fans remember Dean Smith, but for many years he was crapped upon because they never won the big one. They were always great, but they never won the big one. And then one year they got through And Dean Smith was the one who said, "Yeah, I'm the same coach I was yesterday."
Oh, yeah, Michael Jordan too,
Yeah, well, that helped.
and James Worthy. Bunch of
Actually,
other
nobody
guys.
knew Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. The old
No.
joke in those days was only Dean Smith is the only one that ever hold Michael Jordan under 20 points a game. That was the joke at the time. Nobody knew who Michael Jordan. They knew it was great. He was the third pick in the draft. But I think a lot of people shit on it was Portland and Houston.
Portland took
taking
Bowie.
Sam Bowie and Hakeem Olajuwon.
He's got 2 titles.
Yeah, well, Hakeem, it was more Portland. Hakeem was great, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people shit on that in hindsight, but it was not strange at the time at all.
No.
If anything, the fact that Jordan was going 3 was the strange part.
John, you're old enough to remember the days when Michael Jordan couldn't win the big one.
Yeah, well, many years. Yeah.
Yeah, I was too young for that. I got into basketball. The Sixers were god awful. I remember they drafted Jerry Stackhouse. That's my first year remembering Sixers basketball.
Yeah, I was excited about Jerry Stackhouse.
I was too.
I'm embarrassed by that.
They had Jerry Stackhouse and Allen Iverson together for.
Well, a lot of people were making because he was a North Carolina guy. A lot of people were making that comparison, the Jordan Stackhouse comparison.
Oh, Jesus.
Harold Miner was another guy everybody thought would be the next Jordan. Yeah. But yeah, so Dean, got a lot of crap for not completely, but he had so many good players.
Phil Jackson, so many good players.
That series is what the modern today's NBA Finals is what 2-2, right? It's going into
2-2, yeah.
Game. But by the way, you know how long
Indiana lost that, man. They had it.
Yeah.
They're cooked now.
You guys know how long it's taken to play 5 games in this series?
I know, it's absurd. I hate
like
it.
12 days. Like, come on. But you play
it.
back-to-backs in the regular season, like it's
all TV, man. What TV wants, TV gets.
Joel Embiid would be great if he ever made an NBA Finals. He has all this time off.
Don't get me started. He'd find a way to get
Joel Embiid not making an NBA Finals.
Can you imagine Joel Embiid getting hurt in an NBA Finals game?
He'd find a way to get the flu in June. Trust me. Yeah.
Sixers might trade.
The height of flu season, June. He'd find a way.
Well, with this weather, I wouldn't blame him.
That's true. The weather has not been great.
Yeah, it felt like an April game at the Phillies yesterday. It was so weird.
All right, let's get it back to the Eagles. Offense. We haven't talked offense. I do think there's this perception that it's amazing coming off last year, but it's like, well, there's nothing to worry about with the offense because 10 of 11 starters are back, and they're so good, they're so talented. And all the questions are on the defensive side of the ball. But we alluded to it a little bit with AJ and the passing and comment, yada, yada, yada. What is, if they're eighth again, eighth, is that acceptable? As long as they win, I guess it's acceptable. Yeah. But so let's say they make it to the NFC Championship game, but lose. What is the perception of this offense if it's eighth again?
Probably they'll say it's not good enough. I would assume just because of the talent.
So why is it good enough when it's eighth and they win? Just because they won, right? No other explanation.
I mean, that's always been my indicator. Are you winning?
Yeah, that's it, right? There's nothing else.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with how they were doing things last year. Saquon Barkley was the hot hand, and you rode it, and Jalen needed to make the throws he needed to make when you asked him to make them, and the defense was that good, you could do that.
On the judgment of the offense than the offense does.
But what I'm saying is, like you say, I don't have a problem. But did you have a problem after the Carolina game? Did you have a problem after the Packers postseason game, after the Rams postseason game? Like I always bring up the Rams. If Jalen Carter doesn't make those 2 pass rushes and they don't win the Super Bowl, aren't people shitting on this offense pretty harshly?
It's tough Tough question, right? I mean, I went by the wins, but look, I got to take the Rams game out of here. The snow, like, you weren't going to pass the ball in the snow. Matthew Stafford could, but Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer.
He is. He's a very good quarterback, but he's also
But he also
whatever,
fumbled. He also fumbled in that
37,
game.
30. Well, there are a bunch of fumbles. Carter fumble. He had the peanut punch. Who else? I think Zach had one. Zach made a play every game down the stretch.
He really did.
Every single game.
He found a way to make a play. Yeah, look, I thought Jalen did what he had to do that Green Bay game. I didn't think he was that great in the Green, but he made the plays he needed to make. And to me, I just judge quarterbacks differently. Do you turn the damn ball over? If you don't, I think it's a good game. I don't care how many yards you throw for.
But here's my issue. First of all, obviously, turnovers are huge. So if you take care of the football, you're in good shape. But you also have to be in a position, like they were very cautious last year as an offense as a whole, post-bye week, so week 6 on.
I honestly think Jalen's turnovers are starting to get into his head, and they toned it back, and I think that's what got his confidence back per se. He'll never admit that, but
don't you need a better balance? Like they got to be a little bit more.
Oh, they definitely got to be balanced this year. I'm not disagreeing there. In fact, I kind of want them to throw more this year and take some rain off Saquon.
But even the balance as far as ball security, like you don't think they were too cautious last year?
They definitely were too cautious. You and I talked about that in the moment that we thought they were too cautious.
Yeah. See, I don't know, but they won. And see that breaks everything.
Yeah.
Like, and they have to be smart enough, and I think they are, because Nick has talked about it. Like, they're not getting caught up in we won, so this is acceptable. At least he pays lip service to that.
Yeah, I remember like so many people talk. I mean, John, you and I have talked about this. Well, if Xavier Legette don't drop that pass, we're not having this conversation. But he did drop that pass, so I mean, CJ admitted he should have caught it. It is what it is.
Yeah, that game. Woof, they lose that game. That was a
weird game. Whoa. I thought that was going to be their bad loss, and then they were going to win out. If I thought that was going to be like, it's a turn point. Like, okay, they got away with one after they're probably winning their best game of the season in Baltimore.
I always get that. I'm because you're right that like he catches that ball and he should have caught the ball. And the Eagles are going to lose that game. And people always go, well, yeah, but if Saquon caught the ball against early, what game was that early?
Atlanta game.
They're going to win that game. And I'm like, yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, good player. I said it at the moment. Yep. I said it on the post-game show with Zander. There's a perfect play call. People are shitting on the play. I'm like, what are you talking about? The guy's wide open in the flat.
Yeah, he dropped it. And he owned up to it.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm very consistent through it all. But yeah, that my whole point is I'm not gonna panic because he's typically not gonna drop that football. On the other hand, you should understand that most receivers are gonna catch that ball. And to Nick's point, when he talks about just because you win doesn't make it acceptable. At least when you're trying to get better.
Yeah. And that was the game with the passing comments, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was.
Which, by the way, we're also coming from Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, and Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Mailata gave a great answer. Lane John gave a great answer. Yeah. It was Jalen even said it.
Yeah. Jalen said it. Devontae said it. Everybody said it.
I mean, the next week, Jalen gave me my favorite quote of yours. That's what you all wanted to see, huh?
Yeah,
that was your favorite quote of the year, Jeff?
That was my favorite. Well, no, that's up there. If I had to pick top 3 Eagles, and Saquon knows what number 1 is, because during the Super Bowl, I remember he was him and I were kind of smiling at it. One of the younger reporters, I think it was like one of the college kids, they asked me my favorite play this year. And like he kind of saw me like smiling. He said, I want to say to run the snow against the Rams, but then I remembered I jumped over a guy backwards.
I feel like the run in the snow would be more memorable for
Yeah,
him.
I said, and I said to him, like, he was leaving the podium, I said, by the way, do you remember who you jumped over? He's like, no. I think he did, but
Well, the jump over backwards is such like a quick play that happens like in the
Yeah,
moment.
he's not. He doesn't even know what he's going. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
the
believe
run,
him.
the long run, you can kind of take it in a little bit. You're running 60 yards in the snow. I feel like that'd be a
he
more
patted himself
memorable.
on the helmet twice,
Yeah,
and he was
I
still
feel
with
like
it.
it'd be a more memorable play.
Yeah, it's. I still think he was impressed. I remembered when that wasn't the first time he jumped over a guy backwards. He did it against Iowa in 16. He goes, well, that one wasn't as choreographed. I remember he just saw a guy coming. He's like, "Oh, I better get out of the way," and it just happened to be he jumped backwards. Then
I got to
again,
kick. People thought that the EA Sports thing that he was doing it again and again
oh yeah,
and levitating in the air.
If you watch the video, he like sits up there for like
Yeah.
4 seconds. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
guys, he's on strings there. I think.
Hey,
What
hey,
what
guys,
an athlete! It's almost like he's levitating.
hey, guys, this is how they do in the movies, by the way.
Yeah, correct. He is a great athlete, too. But yeah, you can't levitate.
What are you? What are you with this Checo dude? Gosh, you're impressive.
He is. He is impressive. Gosh, he's impressive. Very humble too, which I'm always surprised by when you get somebody of that talent level.
Yeah, everybody seems to say that about Saquon, which is a good thing. I feel like they have a lot of those guys on the Eagles, kind of.
I remember when they signed him, I said, his off the field impact's going to be just as big as his on the field, just because I knew what he meant at Giants locker room. Like, look, there's any issues in the Eagles locker room, they're gone with him.
Well, I can see that. Well, Jeff, what do you think he's going to do on the field this year? I mean, he did 2,000 last year, 2,500 total. I'm not saying he's going to do that again, but how much does the offense change? How much does it stay the same this year coming up in 25?
I mean, no running back who's ever ran for 2,000 yards has ran for 1,500 the next year. It's going to be tough. I mean,
is that right? None of them have ever ran.
None of them have ever done it. Barry Sanders ran for 1,490 some at like 31, and then he retired. So, again, it's going to be tough, but I believe he takes care of his body, and I believe the Eagles will take care of his body enough. But again, can't predict injuries.
I think if he doesn't rush for 1,500 yards, it's because he missed a couple games.
That's how I feel. I mean, I'm sure he's going to make that call to Derrick Henry and a couple other people about what they did. It's doing the game. Everything this guy looks at. He's like, okay, what can I do to change the narrative? Or what can I do to rewrite the history books? It's just the way he is. It's the way he's geared.
Yeah, he is a student of the game, which is rare. Like a lot of guys don't know even who Barry Sanders is.
This guy will talk to you about Barry Sanders for 2 hours till they kick you out of the locker room. And even when they kick you out of the locker room, he still wants to talk about it. It's just the way he is. It's
he is impressive. We joke about it, but he is impressive on the field, off the field. I always say it's very rare when somebody lives up to their reputation. He surpassed it, I think, big as well, which is again indicative of a special season when you have guys who perform whatever their job is to the level they have, and they have so many good players as a whole. But it's hard to repeat, just like it's hard to go 2,000 back to back.
It's never been done.
It's hard to repeat because everything has to align.
I'll go into the crystal ball here. Say he does run for 2,000 again and just said, I'm done. I'm out. He's a Hall of Famer, right?
I think he's already a Hall of Famer. We had this discussion last week.
Yeah.
I think he's already a Hall of Famer. Like right now.
Yeah, do you agree with that? You think he's already a Hall of Famer?
You know what? I think he needs to pad him up a bit, but if he quit right now, I'm going to have a hard time arguing it.
He just set the all-time record for rushing in one season. He's a Hall of Famer.
And we still talk about Terrell Davis's 98 season. By the way, 97, he had 500 touches. 517 touches in 97. He goes back the next year and has 498 in 98 and was better. So I don't really worry about the touches that much.
Well, I worry about them long term,
yeah,
maybe not immediate, but eventually it's going.
Well, it did catch up to TD.
Earl Campbell is my guy. That's my favorite running back of all time. That's my Barry Sanders. But Earl Campbell, if you look at it, lasted like 4 years.
Yeah.
Because he just beat the shit out of everybody. He's the most
yeah.
physical running back who ever lived. But in the moment, you're saying, this is unbelievable. Take some time, everybody. Watch some YouTube highlights on Earl Campbell.
Bum Phillips used Earl Campbell to get his team to the AFC Championship game.
The amount of touches year after year after year, but he only had a very short shelf life because he just destroyed his body. So it does take an impact on you. It
is funny,
like immediate, but it happened to Terrell Davis. He had a very short span. When Terrell Davis was up for the Hall of Fame, that was the argument. Did he play long enough? Did he have enough longevity? And ultimately, they decided, well, he was so good at the height that they put him in.
I mean, the guy had a migraine in the Super Bowl and ran for 150 in 3 games.
Yeah.
And I talked to him about that once. He said, dude, I was in a lot of pain. It was not fun, especially after you got hit.
And that was I always bring up when we talk about the misevaluation of quarterbacks. John Elway was a great superstar MVP level quarterback when Denver.
He was Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's a bad comparison, but he basically had the box office level of Lamar Jackson at the time.
Yeah, he was a great player. He was amongst the best players in the NFL when they were losing Super Bowls. When they won, he was average to below average as an aging quarterback, but Terrell Davis carried them to Super Bowl championships. When it's over, nobody remembers. Well, Elway's got 2.
It was funny, too, because I still remember Super Bowl 32. Terrell Davis has this incredible game. John Mobley, Steve Atwater are having these incredible games. And everybody remembers John Elway's
helicopter
run. Yeah, the helicopter run. And this one's for John. That's how everybody remembers.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's nuts. And then the next year, John throws for 300. By the way, what a way to go out. Like, we were blessed in the late 90s. Michael Jordan makes a game-winning shot, has a game-winning steal, basically scores all the Bulls points in the final minute for their 6 year. And then John Elway says, yeah, I'm going to go throw for 300 and 2 touchdowns in my final game in the Super Bowl. Which, by the way,
and it's crazy. Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, his second Super Bowl, he was brutal that season.
He was
brutal. Yeah, he was awful. Awful. Ben Roethlisberger's first Super Bowl, maybe the worst Super Bowl ever. Individual performance.
And he
Nobody
won.
remembers.
Well, they remember he won, though.
Yeah. That's why quarterback evaluation is broken.
Oh, Eli's got 2. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
Eli's a Hall of Famer. You know it. He's going in.
Why?
He wasn't first ballot, so you guys at least get that.
That was a win for me. At least he wasn't first ballot.
That was a win.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Xander. I think he's going in. I really do. But first ballot Hall of Fame. Get the F out of here.
He might not be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but you do agree, John. He's going in.
I've said I've said he's going in, but he's not. He shouldn't.
Yeah, he's going in. It's
more of his surname. People forget Jim Plunkett didn't go in. So they will keep guys out. Jim won 2. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he won 2.
If he was Eli McNabb, he wouldn't be going.
But if Jim Plunkett's name was Manning, he'd be in.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
Like Jeff, don't you feel like if McNabb had won 1, he'd be in?
Yes, absolutely. I think he'd be in. I think he was a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback by the time he quit.
Yeah, me too.
So do I. I think Randall Cunningham should be in.
I do too. I've always said that.
But Randall to me is a little bit different because I think his impact on the game is a big part of it as well.
Yeah. Everybody says it's big, and I'm
he changed the way the game was played a lot, Randall. So I think his impact on the game adds to his legacy. Plus, people forget how good he was when he won the MVP, when he left. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah, everybody's like Michael Vick changed the game. Like, Randall Cunningham changed the game before Michael Vick did.
Do you guys think AJ Brown's headed to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
He's on-
from
yes.
Jackery, yeah.
Yeah, I
Easy.
did. He's on that pace. I mean, he really is. There's a lot of guys on this Eagles team that a lot of Eagles fans are going to be going to Canton, in a few years.
Well, I think you got Lane Johnson. I think Jordan Mailata will probably be.
He's on that. He's on that pace.
Yeah, Jordan Mailata. That's crazy.
As far as guys who are already in, Lane's in.
Kelsey will get in. Kelsey's not here anymore, but
yeah, Kelsey. Now Fletcher's interesting. I think Fletcher's a Hall of Famer, but I think he's borderline for most people.
But they might put that Super Bowl in the. I know.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominique brings up a good one. Let's call a spade a spade. Jalen Hurts is on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Dominique is not wrong about that.
No, not at all.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if he gets another one, there's really going to be a conversation.
Lock it in. That's what I mean. Lock it in. With this type of winning percentage, if he keeps that even
if he keeps this winning percentage up for like a decade,
not a lot of that. But even if he keeps it close in the next decade, I think he's
I mean, we gotta really put this into perspective here. Like, this is the Patrick Mahomes era of football. And you got Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. And who's the guy who got one in the Patrick Mahomes era?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts.
And by the way, y'all played him in 2 Super Bowls, Jalen Hurts over.
Oh, yeah. Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback to have 7 total touchdowns.
And we're going right back to Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
But that's how they determine this, John. You know that.
That's true. And that's why quarterback evaluation is broken. Now, Jalen's on.
Don't you put some stuff? I'm not saying like what you're saying. Is
what I'm saying, Jalen's on a Hall of Fame trajectory because of his career, not just because he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I agree with John. Yeah, it's.
But that adds to it. Like, don't you got to put some?
It adds to the voting, as Jeff says. Yes, they put way too much emphasis on who wins Super Bowls.
Yeah, but quarterback work I think is just different because I do put an onus on like who are the players that play, are reach the pinnacle in the hardest moments to reach the pinnacle.
Well, that's how McNabb got judged. Everybody loved McNabb until he.
But I agree with John. It's not far, but doesn't that have to matter for something like the pinnacle of the game, the pinnacle of the year? Jalen plays his best football. I think that matters for something.
Well,
I'm not saying
even in the postseason. He's won 6 postseason games.
Yeah, 4 last year, more than Dak.
That's that part of it. I said pretty consistently and still say today that he was the best player on the field in Super Bowl 57.
Yes, definitely.
No, he wasn't the best player on the field in Super Bowl. That was Milton Williams or Josh Sweat. Pick your poison.
Yeah,
but could have been Cooper. Who knows? It was somebody on defense. Defense as a whole. Can we give it to the defense as a whole? But he was very good. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he was better in the Super Bowl he lost. I just brought up the guys. Elway wasn't good in the Super Bowl in his 2 Super Bowl wins. Roethlisberger had one of the worst. Like, how do you gauge Patrick Mahomes? He's been to 5. 2 of them were 2 of his worst games ever.
It's crazy.
By the way, one of the ones he won was a terrible game for him as well.
If you look at
the Rams, he didn't play well.
If you look at Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl stats, they're not even close to his postseason stats.
No, they're not great.
What I'm saying, see, like you guys all know this, but everybody defaults to, well, he won a Super Bowl.
Well, John, as we talk about everything in football, man, there's so much context. I think different player has different context.
It's so weird, right? I love when Cowboys fans just shit on Hurts when he is literally the modern day Troy Aikman. All he does is win and play well in the biggest of moments.
You're obsessed with Cowboy fans, Jeff.
They're stupid. They are. Like, I am obsessed with how stupid people can be.
Well,
I mean, you know why you're bringing this up.
You're becoming a curmudgeon too fast. I need to get over there and slow your.
I'm ruining Jeff. Jeff's too young to be as curmudgeonly as me.
Yes, he is. Come on, Jeff. We got to slow this rate, brother. Sports. You know what?
John is saying this. John saw my tweet yesterday about that stupid Dak Prescott fan saying "Happy Father's Day" to the NFC East, who Dak Prescott has a 33-8 record against, and I'm like, the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls in the Dak Prescott era, and they've been to more Super Bowls than Dak Prescott has
won more playoff games last year than Dak has won in his 10-year career. I mean, that's where I do put some on the when the lights are bright. Like, how do you have 10 years? You had 3, I think, number 1 offenses, or 2, whatever it was.
By the way, Dak's had loaded
2
teams.
playoff wins. Jalen won 4 playoff wins last year.
I mean, you know me better than anybody from talking to me every day, Zander. I believe in, and Nick Sirianni talks about it even more than me. Constantly calls it the ultimate team game. I mean, I do not judge football by quarterback versus quarterback. I never have. I never will. It has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts. It has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. There are individual, like when they lost that playoff game to Green Bay, and he did not hand the football to the official, and they probably weren't going to win the game anyway. They would have had still a 20-something yard touchdown pass on the last play. But just the nature of not understanding as a quarterback in this league that the official has to spot the football and the clock is running down. That to me is unforgivable. Like that's the kind of shit that
was the San Francisco game,
you
right?
always bring that play up.
Yeah.
I love that.
That is unacceptable.
You know what? I've told Tony Romo this. He was better than Dak. He was.
Who? Say that again?
Tony Romo. I always told that, like, I know.
Tony was very good.
Yeah, I thought Tony was
Dak's
a better
very
quarterback.
good. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument for Tony. Yeah.
My guy who writes for the Cowboys now, Patrick Walker, I remember when we were together at CBS, he wrote a big column in 16 when Romo was still on the team, and he said, I may be overreacting here. But he said, I think they could win a Super Bowl if they put Tony Romo back in the starting lineup. If they make him the quarterback. And he got roasted for it.
Like, here's the thing and Patrick's the best example now. Because he's made 5 of them. And as I said, in 2 of them he lost. He was awful. Basically awful because they couldn't block anybody in both of them. Couldn't block Tampa, couldn't block Philadelphia. And there are other games in the Super Bowl where he wasn't great. If you go to 5 Super Bowls, if Jalen Hurts is lucky to go to 5 Super Bowls, he's probably going to have a bad game at some point.
Yeah, you would think, right?
I don't know. I'd be betting against the trend, betting against the odds if I bet
I think it's more impressive going to 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah, so do I. I bring up Buffalo.
5 is impressive. Yeah.
I bring up Buffalo's one of the most impressive teams ever to me. The Mark.
Because they went the 4 straight.
Yeah. That is so much harder than just spiking up and being the Giants and winning 1 because you get hot at the right time.
By the way,
We've had Jim Kelly on the afternoon show, boy. I tell you what, he wishes he won 1. I know that. I know.
They all do.
We all do. I'm not saying they don't.
But that is one legacy. No one's ever been the 4 straight.
Yeah. Nobody. That's what I'm saying. There's 59 Super Bowl winners. There's 1 team that went to 4 straight. 1 in the history of football.
Tom Brady broke everything. I remember when John Elway retired. John Elway's the GOAT because he went to 5. Well, Tom Brady went to 10. He broke the mold.
Yeah, well, Tom did break.
Mahomes is on a faster pace than Tom. I mean, he's got 5 in his first 8 years in the league. Right?
Yeah,
he's going into year 9, right?
I think so. I think Patrick is headed for some downtimes. I do.
I do too. Remember, Brady had a 10-year layoff. Between.
I mean, they still were winning during that 10-year layoff.
I know, but I'll
tell you what. If Jalen Hurts keeps up what he's doing from just a winning standpoint, he's in the conversation for the greatest quarterback of all time.
I agree with that.
But I also don't think it's possible.
By the way, if Lamar
because it's a cyclical league and the talent's not always going to be
right,
and there are going to be years. There are going to be years where it's going to be a struggle.
By the way, if Lamar does happen to get 1, he enters that conversation.
I think Lamar's going to get 1. I really do.
I bet on Baltimore every year. So
I do too. I bet
one of the years you're going to be right. I mean, good enough.
I keep telling my guys at One Bills Live. I tell Steve Tasker all the time. You guys know you're going to get 1 at some point.
Right now, I'm Baltimore for the Super Bowl again on the AFC.
I'm taking
I am
Bills this
too.
year in the AFC. I got Bills winning the AFC this year.
I got Baltimore. I got Baltimore Bills
Baltimore.
AFC
You guys
championship.
keep riding Baltimore. I'm going to go Bills this year.
1 year, the stars are going to align.
1 year, Mark Andrews isn't going to drop a pass.
Oh, bullshit. Lamar had all those turnovers. Me and John just had this debate.
And by the way, if Lamar does win one, he's got the same thing with Vic Fangio. Same player the day before as the day he won.
Yeah, but you do agree that if Lamar wins one, the way that his career is remembered will be drastically different than if he does not.
Of course. But I'm saying
absolutely.
that's a fan media perspective. I'm saying, like, people in the league know what Lamar Jackson is. That does not change. That does not change.
Well, I think everybody knows how talented he is. I mean, he's one of the most talented football players I've ever laid eyes on.
Every quarterback has won 2 MVPs, has a Super Bowl. Just remember that.
It should have won 3. Should have won.
Yeah, he should have won this year. Yeah, he was better last year.
Josh won. I had Josh taking it, so I'm.
That was a. I love Josh Allen, man. I think they gave him one. I really do.
Josh is my favorite quarterback, probably my favorite quarterback in the league.
I
think Lamar.
He's a little bit. I said it. He's a little bit too reckless for me. A little bit too reckless. I was just looking. Lamar's passer rating last year was 119.6.
It's insane.
119.6.
What was it? 41 touchdowns and 4 picks?
41 touchdowns, 4 picks, 4,000 yards passing.
Lamar probably should have won.
915 yards rushing. And the Eagles did a good job.
But by the way, I do have to laugh at this, just from talking to all these quarterbacks over the years. Josh Allen's got great personality. Lamar's got a great personality. Patrick Mahomes got a great personality. Jalen does too. He's just more reserved. It's just he's built different than the other. It's nothing bad, nothing good. Just they're all different.
Did you guys see that video that went around of Nicole Lynn talking about when Jalen got his extension?
Yes.
I thought that was a pretty. And again, I don't know if I can't fact check it. I don't know if Nicole.
Well, she said that before. Yeah, that's not the first time she said it, but
yeah, I thought it was pretty dope. I mean, just cool to hear that type of insight from an agent. But and for those who missed it, I would encourage you to go and watch it. It's on my X account. You can follow me at Zander Krause. I'll retweet it again. But she basically is just like, I had to explain to him the way that the cap works so that he knew becoming the highest paid player in the NFL did not mean he wasn't going to be able to keep AJ and Devontae and some of these other guys.
Money is nice. Championships are better.
I think that's one of my favorite things about him, Jeff. He says what he believes, and he believes what he says, and he actually practices what he says. Which
you know what? I got a bunch of good Jalen quotes.
And now Jalen's the 11th highest paid quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I think he dropped out of the top 10.
Hey, John, what is your favorite Jalen quote? He's got some good ones.
I'd have to go through the T-shirt.
I had a purpose before people had an opinion.
That was a fire quote. Come on,
I'm not a big fan of the T-shirt slogans.
That one was better than "Is this what you wanted to see?" Like that one pissed me off because I'm like, Jalen, why do you?
Cares what we say
because he reads this stuff. He knows.
I know, but that's why to me that wasn't my favorite quote at all.
He let his guard down. That's what I love about it.
Approval from me or John or Jeff or Deshay or Steve or anybody in the chat. Fuck everybody. Go in and do what you do, and that's why I thought he gave
my favorite Jalen moments are when he gets off script and we get him talking a little bit. Those are my favorite Jalen moments.
I like when I'm telling you, I tell Nick Castellanos is just like Jalen Hurts, man. You better come prepared when you ask him a question.
Yeah, he's going to ask back questions.
Yeah, it's fine. Nick gets a lot of bad questions, and yesterday I gave him a good one. Everybody likes to ask Nick Castellanos about what he did. Well, I went the other way. I'm like, I was doing a story on Otto Kemp, and I knew Nick will give me a good answer if I ask it right. And I asked it right. And he just goes, like he sighed because he had to think about how he wanted to answer. And he gave me an awesome answer. And of course, the content creators on there, oh, Nick Castellanos hated that question. I'm like, yeah, I actually really like that question. It's just, He just didn't give his typical 2-3 word answer.
Yeah, I mean, from a press conference standpoint, I don't think Jalen's great. Not that it matters. I mean, I think he's too guarded.
Yeah, he's Saban.
Word
That's
salad.
That's Saban. I mean, that's it's
Yeah,
like
rat
Devontae.
poison.
Didn't get much
Yeah.
either. Wait, Jeff.
Devontae can open up.
Wait, Jeff. Just to answer it, we got it. This is such an honorable mention. I didn't walk through the fire just.
Yes, yeah, there we go. Good, that's a good one. Yeah,
that was a good Jalenism right there.
That's a good one. I like that.
Good
Good pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you don't know what you don't know.
Now that I know how much John loves these, Jeff, we're gonna have to do a segment next week. We're gonna go through all the
top 10 Jalen quotes.
Yeah, I'm
Jeff,
not.
we're running out of time, brother. We appreciate all the time you give us as always, man. We love talking to you. You've become such a staple on this show, Jeff. Our viewers love you. We love you. It's so great talking to you every week. Your final thoughts, brother, on this Monday, June 16th edition. Jeff, we're like 5 weeks out from training camp, brother. The offseason flew by this year.
Man, we're in peak offseason. We're talking best Jalen quotes, and if Jalen's going to the Hall of Fame, man, Jair Alexander's going to be in.
I love lists. Best Jalen quotes lists.
There you go. List it up, baby.
And by the way, have you guys gotten in the whole Chris Sims ranking Jalen wherever the heck?
Yeah,
we
talked about it.
We talked about that.
I don't think he was all pace. He was about 10th last year. That's where he belonged. Over the whole season.
I think it's because of, again, like I said to John earlier, it's because of who said it.
Yeah. Well, it goes all the way back to when he didn't have him. The 1 year he didn't have him in the top 40, which was absurd.
Yeah, that was absurd.
But the recent years he was a little bit low after 2022. I think he had him 7th. He deserved to be higher after 2022. He had him 10th this year. I don't know. PFS had him 12th. I mean,
I do like when Sims, and again, they don't put this on the memes, or the engagement things like for Instagram. But Chris Sims says in the article, "Look, I'm not judging them based on Super Bowls. I'm judging them based on 2024 performance." So it's like, okay, well,
the whole season performance. That's where he should be there.
And in the article, I believe Chris Sims said, "Look, he deserves a lot of credit. Let that team to the Super Bowl." Like
I didn't think it was that bad at all, but
I think people get too upset over certain things.
Well, and I say about every list, if you don't like one list, just go to the next one.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff, the way you started it, you forget the way you started the segment. You were ready to explode on Phillies fans the first minute that we had.
I always explode on Phillies fans.
I know you do. You've been exploding on them since the season started, Jeff. I mean, come on, you got to give them some slack a little bit here.
I don't have to give anybody some slack. You didn't watch this team until October of 2022.
The team is like a seesaw, Jeff. The fans are like the team. They're a seesaw, man. They're up and down.
You mean it's like baseball? You suck one week and you're great the next. I can't explain how they lost.
Baseball is 100. Everybody has slumps. Everybody comes out of it. If you win 100 games, you're good.
Yeah.
If you win 90 to 95, you're solid. You're in the conversation.
They're 42 and 29. They're on pace to win 96.
Yeah, 42 and 29. That's what they.
That's good.
Yeah, and look, do I think they're good enough to win a World Series? Not right now, no. But they're also not making trades today. I don't want to hear, "Oh, the Giants trade for Devers." I'm like, well, the Red Sox are stupid. So, they're dumb. They just wanted to get rid of him.
The Red Sox just swept my Yankees, and they traded their best player.
Oh, by the way, Aaron Judge had the most Ks ever for a Yankees player in 3-game series against the Red Sox.
He always strikes out. He strikes out all the time.
It's
the only 400 hitter who strikes out.
I know. It's amazing.
He's probably down to 380-ish now, 370-ish. He's in the slump.
Is he on that good of a pace right now?
Oh yeah, he was at 400 for a while.
By the way, right there, up on your right corner, Zander, there is the baseball fan version of Vic Fangio. People watched John McMullen during Phillies Yankees last year, and Yankees are Jazz Chisholm has a big home run. You wouldn't even know it. We can look at John McMullen.
That's right, 378, and that's in a slump. That's what Judge is hitting right now.
He's insane.
378.
I love it.
I heard, and the Phillies need a left fielder. You want to just give him away for peanuts?
Yeah, he's. I'm going to say this bold. He's one of the greatest right-handed hitters, because most great hitters are left-handed for whatever reason. One of the greatest right-handed hitters that ever lived. It's time to say that. But he will never get that credit until he does it in the World Series, where he consistently shits the bed when he gets there.
Yeah, well, reminds me of the quarterback conversation. I know it's different. I know baseball's different.
Yeah, baseball is such an individual sport.
No, I know it is. It's really, John's right about that. It's the one true statistical sport. You know, it really is. But Jeff, we appreciate it, brother, man. Great stuff as always. Make sure you guys follow Jeff at Jeff Kerr CBS. Read all his work at cbssports.com. We appreciate you doing it, brother. As always, like I said, you're loved here in the Birds 365 community. We can't thank you enough. Jeff,
am I really loved or am I polarizing?
Well, I think you're both. I think that's what happens. You come in and you become.
I specifically wanted to get Jeff on today to criticize people for keep talking about Jair Alexander.
Jeff, here's my one knock on you right now. Your curmudgeon status is exploding right now. It's like Mount Vesuvius. It exploded this week, dude. Your curmudgeonness, I can't keep up with it, Jeff.
You just bring up Saquon. He loves Saquon. So
I got to be the opposite. I got to be like the opposite of curmudgeon, because you two are both the ultimate.
I'll tell you what, Zander. You go in the Phillies clubhouse, you will not see me being a curmudgeon when I'm talking to players.
All right, so it's just Birds 365. We bring
no, it's not that either. It's just you get tired of hearing stupid shit.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, Jeff. Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
Yeah, see you guys.
Right, thanks, bud. Jeff Kerr joining us here on Birds.
Yeah, I like that phrasing. You get tired of hearing stupid shit. That's correct.
You and him both. You and him both have that take.
Yeah.
A lot of stupid shit said in the world, John. It's just the reality of the world.
Well, and you get when you hear it day in and day out, it gets tiring. It gets tiring. But
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Good stuff here on a Monday edition of Birds 365. A fun way to kick off the week. Talked to Jeff Kerr. Talked a little bit of the sophomore players on the Philadelphia Eagles. So we talked a lot about a good thing. John, let me ask you this before we go. What's the first list that you want to do this offseason? Because you know we got to do a couple of them.
I'm not doing any list.
You
might make me do one. I'm not doing it on in my writing.
No, I just mean on the fly. You're going to do a list here on Birds 365.
Oh,
no, I'm not asking you to be a SI aggregator. Just a Birds 365 one.
Yeah, what list do I want to do? Well, that's a tough question, because I don't want to do any list. But what is meaningful? I don't know. I guess position groups. You know, I was thinking about doing, ranking the Eagles position groups, but which is a sort of a list. So I'm breaking my own rule, but
that's not bad. Not bad ranking position groups for the Birds.
I think, there's stuff more meaningful, like, doing the quarterback. God damn, the quarterback thing is so annoying.
But that's what the people want. Here's Fly before you even say it. We want the J-Mac quarterback list. That's what everybody wants, John.
God damn, it's annoying.
Sometimes you got to give the people what they want, though, right? I mean, they show up for us. We got to give them what they want.
Well, anybody who listens to the show knows what it'll be. I have to debate. Right now, I'm sort of in the Joe Burrow camp, but depending on the day, I might go Lamar. Those are, if you talk about and Josh is the top three for me is easy, just depending on where you rank them, and you can make an argument for any of them.
Really, the top? Where's Mahomes in that top three?
Yeah, so we'll see. I think he's dropping off a little bit, but I would keep him at 4. But I could see him slipping further this year.
We got to put this on pause, because I already know once we get to 5, that's when the floodgates open up. The chat goes wild.
Oh yeah. They're not going to like 5.
No, I already know who. In my head, it's already pinging in my head who it's going to be. But we'll stop right there. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. As always, good show here. We'll be back here tomorrow on a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Your final thoughts on this Monday edition of the show?
I'm not going to say who number 5 is, because I don't know. I'm debating between at least 2. And yeah, Eagles fans are not going to like using the
I can tell by the look on your face, Johnny Mac, that they're not going to like it.
But Jalen will be very high, at least in my mind. Just not as high as probably people want him to be.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I'm not here to validate.
You're here to elevate.
Exactly.
I told you when John retires.
There's my
I'm
t-shirt.
starting a super chat fund. All right.
There's
John,
my t-shirt. Yeah, well, we got to get this. That's what you should do. The super chat to make t-shirts of the show and give them out to the fans.
There you go. I'll do that. Elevate. We're going to start a super chat fund. And when J-Mac retires, we're going to buy him a big boat. It's going to say Elevate. The name of the boat is going to be Elevate. I'm going to ship John off to Florida and say, John, I'll catch you in the next life, my friend.
Yeah. Which is coming quickly, unfortunately. Hopefully I can last a little bit longer, but we all age out. Father Time gets us all.
Things come to an end, but not right here on Birds 365. Thank you, Johnny Mac. We'll catch you tomorrow, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, there's Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Make sure you guys follow him on X at JF McMullen. One of the best in the business, covering the Philadelphia Eagles. One of the best beat reporters, obviously covering the team. Make sure you guys follow him. Great show today. I love talking to Jeff and John and the two curmudgeons and listening to them go back and forth. My internet's dropping again today. I don't know what's going on, everybody. These Apple computers, I bitched about them last week. I'm going to bitch about them again. They don't work anymore. They just like fall off the face of the planet when you update them. But anyway, good plan. Let me go to the chat because you guys were, you guys over here are just acting up as always. What was the pause that you guys hit? I see all you guys like saying pause. You guys like love pause. It's like ridiculous. I'm planning a trip to St. Augustine. Am I frozen right now? No, I'm not. All right. I think St. Augustine. I think I've been there, Abe. I think that's where my sister got married, my oldest sister. It's a beautiful town, bro. It's very Catholic. You know me. I love my Catholic faith. Yeah, St. Augustine, Florida, in the historic district. Look, that's my sister and my dad dancing at their wedding, at my sister's wedding. There she is with the smoke on the ground. Yeah, the castle's fire. That's a cool place, Abe. That's a cool place, St. Augustine, Florida. I think that's where what's that college? That college is there. Flagler, I think. Flagler. Joe says no issues with my Apple stuff. Well, you probably got the new M4, right? I'm on the M1 Pro or whatever it is, Joe. $4,000 computer a year and a half later. The thing can barely even load StreamYard. I got to shut out every app on my device just for StreamYard to not lag, and it still lags. It's like, are you kidding me? 4Gs on these damn laptops. How long is this Zander time? I got one in the chain. Brian, no comment, no idea how long it'll be. Did my super chat get read? No. Did I miss a super? Oh, my God, Rashid. Gosh, sorry. Oh, Rashid. Damn, brother. My bad. I didn't read it to John. I'll take a picture of it and send it to him. He'll probably text me back some curmudgeon response. Super chat, John. We missed one. We missed two. Killer Tomato dropped one too. Rashid checks in. I like the yellow shirt in Rashid's picture. It pops. I can see it. It's a memorable photo. Some of you guys have some of the worst photos I've ever seen. Like a Fredo. What is that? Texas boy with the shitty logo in the Texas. Rashid says, agree. Def not just Super Bowl for Hurts. Since 21, he's the 6th in total yards, 2nd in touchdowns, 2nd in wins, never missed his playoffs, accolades, all-pro, Super Bowl appearances, win, and MVP. It's true, brother. Rashid, well said. I took a picture of it, so I'm going to read it to guys. I will read these super chats tomorrow. A Killer Tomato, I see yours as well. He says, $5 down the damn drain. Killer, it's not down the drain. All right. It's helping Jacob thrive. So if you like the channel, it is not down the drain, but you didn't quite get the ROI that you were looking for today, which is a read to John McMullen. I'll take a picture of it and read it to him tomorrow. I got a picture of Rashid's. Let me take a picture of this one. All right. Now I got 2 pictures. I'll read them to him tomorrow. Killer says, it's an absolute travesty that McVay won Coach of the Year over Peterson with all the injuries the Eagles had that year. That is so true. That is so true. McVay won that year. That was an unbelievable coaching performance by Doug Peterson that year. With all the injuries, you lose your starting quarterback, you lose your left tackle. I mean, they lost like everybody that year. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's a good call out by you. Oh, brother, this guy Rashid. Rashid, you're stirring him up in the chat. That's what you got to do. You got to take the nerds in the chat and you stir them up. All right? You take the nerds like Brian Pumper, you put them in a blender and you put it on high and you watch them whine. Alfredo, check it in. What up, Alfredo? Response to John's comment about Eagles not having 2K a goal for Saquon. O-line made it the goal once they seen how close they were. If Say has 1,600 at week 14, they make it goal first O-line to get 2K running back. Maybe, Alfredo. We'll see what ends up happening. Where's Dougie P now? He on the couch again? Yeah, Daz. That's one of the things I'm not happy. I know maybe, but we will see. Zapped his ass. I'm frozen now, aren't I? Let me double check if I'm frozen. Am I back? I'm out of here. I blame Brian Pumper. This dumbass. This dumbass Brian Pumper. Brian Pumper, are you still in the Himalayas? Are you still in the Himalayas or what? Curtis, my office is changing soon anyway. I'm not getting back to the office yet. I don't have dial-up. That's the funniest part. My damn business internet is like cost me an arm and a leg. I just don't have it down here. That's all right though. You guys will get over it. Brian says, get the super chats up to support Jacob and get an upgrade on Zander's 56K modem with dial-up. It's not dial-up. But I'm in the middle of June here, you know? Supers are quiet. Johnny Mac and Cilio are like multi-millionaires off the Jacob shows. You know, you guys want me to upgrade. What do you think I am? Made of money? Come on, man. I tell you guys, the super chats help. Xander gets back to the office maybe next week, Curtis. I don't know. Whenever this house gets rented. Once it's rented for the summer. So I'm out of here. By the way, they're putting me to work here, all right? It's like just breaking balls. Yeah, short internet. I don't know why short internet sucks because it's, I'm paying for the top one down here too. Yes, sir. Asia. There you go. So where's your jersey that I sent you, Brian? Can you send that to? So I owe Josh B a jersey still. Can you like send that back to me, Brian? Or I sent this guy a Saquon jersey last year. It's been sitting on his front stoop for 4 months. It's been sitting on your front stoop for 4 months, Pumper. Nobody deserves that jersey more than Pumper, though. So hopefully he actually gets it. The funny part is, look at this numbnuts. Lucius, how far is my profile pic? Yeah, just don't go home and load up the corn to it, you weirdo. I'm just kidding, Lucius. You know I love you. It's in the closet. There you go, Pump. Pump, I think I actually sent you a Jalen Hurts one by accident. All right. I think I sent you a Jalen Hurts one by accident. I said, let me just, Brian Pump, send it to Jalen Hurts. All right, good stuff. All right, last question for you guys today before I get out of here. Last question for you guys today before I get out of here. I'm going to ask you to help me with my job. All right. All right. You ready? Rattle off. What do you want to hear John rank? What list do you want to hear? What topics do you want to hear from Johnny Mac in the next couple of weeks? I'll take some ideas from you guys, and there's no guarantee they will be used because a lot of you guys are airheads. I'm just kidding. Fly, Eagles, fly. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. You're going to remind me of Izzy B. Girl takes everything personal. Bird Gang Girl, good to see you in here. Best long snappers in the league. There's Ryan, one of the shittiest takes you'll ever hear. Rich, top 10 best reporters. That is awful. Daz, we don't want to hear any list from Sam McDonald, MVP lister. Joe Whip, the worst chatters in the side chat. I don't know. You know, Joe, sometimes I think John doesn't read the chat at all. And then every once in a while, he'll like rattle off what somebody said in the chat. I'm like, maybe he's reading the chat more than I think. There's Izzy Bay. Izzy Bay, good to see you in here. I want to hear how the world's biggest water thrower became a wrestling fan. Yo, Curtis, I might have to ask that. John, you hate gimmicks. You hate lists. How are you a wrestler? It's like the antithesis of everything Johnny Mac professes to be is pro wrestling. You're right about that. Ain't that the pot calling the kettle black? That's so true. Fun fact. Here's Rashid again. Jalen has more yards, touchdowns, and wins than Lamar Jackson. Rashid, shh. Don't tell Johnny Mac that. Power rank the teams. AFC, NFC contenders. That's good. Congrats, guys. It took 32 comments to get one thing to actually write down. And Texas T, you know I love you, but that's not necessarily a groundbreaking topic right there. Top 10 Eagles beat reporters. Johnny Mac's number one. All right. Top matchups of the year. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. I like that, T-Bear. I don't know if I've ever seen you in the chat. Best top 10 Bob Langs. Top 10 chatters in the JAKIB chat. I don't think John could come up with that, but I will see if he can. The funniest part about it, he might lie. He might be like, I don't read the chat, but he really, in his head, he really does have a top 10. My guess is that who's my Shea Gilgeous-Alexander truther? D. Hughes. That's who's going to be number one on Johnny Mac's list. Top 5 people he glazes that no one knows on the team. BVS, McCord, Nick Muse, Danny Gray, and Malik Carr. That's a good one. Best Philly athletes of all time. Greatest pro wrestler. John, he'll talk about that for 4 hours, Lucius. Nice profile switch again. I bullied you out of here, the picture of me. Quick. Very quick. You guys see that? Everybody in the chat, see that? Take notes. See that level of dominance? Guy changes his profile picture to me, about 8 seconds long. I shred him, rip him, roast him. Next comment, he comes back. He's got some goofy AI-generated eagle. All right? You know what we call that? We call that dominance, everybody. We call that dominance. Lucius, I love you. Izzy B's turned on by it, I can tell. See, that's why she, shut up, Xander. Remember that? Like when you're in like grade school and everyone's like, you know, all the girls who pick on, all the girls that make fun of you, they all want it. It's true. Stupidest fan takes of all time. Jeez, these are some stupid segments we got coming up, but I don't hate it, Slagger. Like, I like all these topics, but I like every topic. I like every topic. It's John, and with John, it's a game. It's like, John, is this topic all right? Good night. I mean, me and Celia, we'll talk about anything. Lucius, don't give an appear. What do you mean? Lucius is already done and dusted. All right, look. This bitch Lucius brought it back. Greatest JAKIB fan profile pic. Lucius, shh. It's okay. Pumper going to win in a landslide. Yes, he will. Top 5 reasons he doesn't wear a toupee. You think I should get a toupee? Look at that hairline. Look at that hairline, Brian Pumper. I would never get a toupee. Are you kidding me? That's just another way of saying top 10 reasons to say stop it. That's a good one. All right. That's a good one. Dak MVP 20. Now that is laughable. That mane is looking fire. Thank you, Fleming. Thank you, B. Flem. It's a good thing I don't need it. All right. Zander, you're bald and young. Oh, look. Lucius goes, he starts with a dumbass profile picture. Then I shred him. Now he's entering the Hall of Fame of dumb takes and Captain Obvious takes. No, Zander, but in 5 years, thank you, Joe Whip. You guys are all awesome. Hair is overrated. Ryan! It's Ryan's best take of all time. Fucking Ryan in here with a dagger. Let's go, Ryan. Woo! Ryan with a snipe. You see that, Izzy B? Woo! Ryan with a snipe. Best lawns to get off of. That's hilarious by Chuck Hutton. Abe taking a shot at them. Oh, man. J-Mac should rank as top guest of JAKIB. I don't know if he'd be given a good one. I don't know if we would have a good one there. Top 5 Minnesota Vikings. He would do that. Kirsten, there she is. Kirsten, I haven't seen you in a bit. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing good, Kirsten. Lurie is hard to beat for highest hairline. Does he have a high hairline? I don't know. I think you guys are all a little bit more infatuated with hair than I am. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing. Holy shit. You can land a freaking jet on that thing. Oh, my goodness. That forehead's a landing strip for the biggest plane out there. Lee Diddy is worse than Lurie. Yeah, but that, you know what's funny? All the dudes who got like the spray on hairlines, they got like these spray on hair. It's like paint. I'm like, that's not a hairline. All right. Like you might think it looks crispy or whatever the hell you think with your lines and the bullshit. If you're spraying paint on your hair, like you're not getting, like that's a toupee. All right. Or whatever you call them. I mean, you got to be kidding me, man. That's what Brian Fleming has. Brian Fleming's got the painted on hair. I think Jalen's got the painted on hair. I won't lie to you. I think Jalen's got the painted on hair too. Like he shows up at the press events for GQ. I'm like, oh, that's a fresh paint job. That's a fresh paint job right there. Look at this, $10. Parsons does. He might. Keys, look at there's Keys. Keys, don't tell me. Keys, look, guys, you know what this means about Keys, right? Keys. You guys know those barber videos on social. By the way, they're so entertaining. I could watch those. I love those reels are great. You watch a barber video on social media, and it's like, watch me bring this 40-year-old dude back to life, basically, is basically what the barbers are saying. And they do a pretty damn good job. One of those days I'm going to be scrolling. I'm going to say, holy shit. I think that's Keys. I think that's Keys on this video. Oh, my gosh. They're spraying on the hairline and everything. They got the scissors out. They got the little thing out to make the line across perfect. Come on, Keys. Keys is one of those videos. You hate to see it, Keys. You hate to see it, my friend. You hate to see it. All right, I'm out of here. I'm done. Good show. Good show, everybody. Unfortunately, you guys didn't give me any good topics. All right? This is what I got. AFC, NFC contenders. Not exactly groundbreaking, but usable. Top matchups of the year. I actually like that one. What are the games we're most looking forward to? Top chatters, trash. Top pro wrestlers, trash. Stupidest fan takes, trash. Right, here comes a witty ass comment from Abe. How many shitty comments has Texas Girl made this far? A lot. A lot. Look, Keith rolled up into a ball. He's withering up right now under the sun. He couldn't handle it. Guy disappeared. I called him out. He disappeared. What about top 5 Eagles linebackers? Kirsten, not your best work. All right. Take a lap, maybe come back tomorrow. You might improve. You might improve. Does anyone else feel like Jalen is a corny old man at heart who thinks his one-liners are cool? Probably. They are cool, though. Listen, Curtis, sometimes they are cool. Like, Curtis, I know you wish you had a moment where you spoke to the world publicly and you said, I didn't walk through the fire just to smell the smoke. Come on, man. That one was cool. The one that was stupid that everybody loves. The one that was really stupid that everybody loves was, is that what y'all wanted to see? No, that's not what I wanted to see. Look at Keith. Xander's projecting his hairline issues. I'm solid, big dog. Yeah, Keith, mine's not great. I won't lie. Mine's not great. It's not awful, though. Like, you guys act like I'm like it's not as bad as you guys say it is. Like, where's that one nerd who comes in here? He's like, ooh, Xander's balding under that hat. I'm like, nice. They are cool. Curtis is a little bit of a cis spot. Like, if if Curtis is in the chat and you'll be like, Jalen's a top 5 quarterback. Curtis goes John McMullen, and he's like, well, what are the context of the way that we're grading them? And are we really being honest about what Jalen Hurts was to the offense and all these different things? I'm like, shut up. The guy's like 50 and 10, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls and he's won one. I mean, what else do I got to know? All right? He's the quarterback of the football team. Last I checked, it's the most important position in all of sports. Xander, rank the worst commenters in here. I couldn't do that. I don't. We got some good comments. Even the shitty commenters are good. You know, it's an art. You got to be able to take the shitty comments and make them entertaining, Ryan. Just like I did with you. Just like I did with you and Keith. Keith is down bad right now. Slagger. Now we're talking. Slagger is now cooking with grease. He's in McDonald's cooking with grease. We'll hit that. We'll hit that. If I was a guy, I'd buzz it and dare someone to say something. Yeah, I think I could buzz it. I mean, I wear a hat every day. Does it matter? Have J-Mac rank Cilio's works. J-Mac doesn't know any of Cilio's takes. He doesn't. How would he know? He doesn't know. See, John is afraid of Cilio. You guys used to say Cilio is afraid of John. It's the opposite. All right? Every time I text John to get him on Cilio, he ducks. He's got a reason. He's got an excuse. He's got something. He's got a generator. He's got a tree. He's got this. He's got that. J-Mac ducks Big Sills. Sills has never once told me, oh, no, I won't do that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. Sills ain't scared. It ain't Sills, I'll tell you that much. You know who is actually cool in speeches? Landon Dickerson. That's true. That's true. He says he's got a tree. Don't you remember when he had like the tree dude at his house? Yo, Keith, what's going on in that profile picture? What are you, on a camel? What are you, in Egypt? The hell's going on there? I can see your bald head through the screen now. Holy crap, Keith. Holy crap. Keith is riding in a camel in his profile picture. He's at the pyramids, it looks like. The goofy pyramids. You know, my sister went and saw the pyramids. She's like, yeah, they were awesome. I'm like, you know where I have no interest in going? Into the pyramids. I know. You guys are going to be like, Xander's so lame. He doesn't want to travel. I know. Keith, I was in Egypt in April. That's actually dope, Keith. Congratulations. There's Brian Fleming. Egypt is amazing. Ready? Here comes Joe Whipp. Xander, you have to travel. Abe, that's whack. I know, everybody. You know what? I'm happy where I live. I don't need to travel to feel alive. All right, Abe, unlike you, I wake up and I feel alive, baby. Now who's the curmudgeon? There you go. My pick is one I took in Antarctica. Joe's been to like every continent on the planet. Every continent, every country, every state, every city, like you name it. Rich, I work during the Birds games. I'm not going to any Birds games. People didn't build those pyramids. No way. Debate in the chat. What do you guys think? Xander hates Egyptians. Confirmed. I love Egyptians. I love all humans. Good people. That's what I like, Dank. I don't judge people based on their sports fandom. Like Texas boy. Seems like a decent enough guy, even though he's chirping my hairline. All right. Even though he's chirping my hairline. I don't judge people what society judges people on. All right, I'm leaving. We've been chatting for 30 minutes about nothing. I mean, seriously, what have we talked about in the last 30 minutes? Does anybody know? Believe it or not, people built the pyramids because they simply were that smart, even though they weren't different from you, fam. David, that's like half English, half not. All right. David LaFrade, what up, Big Z? What up, David? How you doing, brother? We got some topics. I get Keith. The only topic I'm interested in is why you're riding a camel. All right. Like personally, Keith, I wouldn't ride a camel. Now, I'm not judging you, but I personally would refrain from putting my body on the back of a camel. That's just me. All right. Just my take. All right. That's just my prerogative. Right. Don't tell me what to do. You nerd. Decent gals, Andrew? What does that mean? Not when you live in North Carolina. I don't know what you're talking about there, Abe. Egypt is a dream trip. All right, Abe, maybe I'll have to put it in. The only trip I want to go on is I want to go to Rome. That's where I want to go. F those camels. Oh, look, Lucius bullied out of his profile picture. Actually, Lucius, you're looking fire. Lucius, all seriousness, joking aside, you're looking handsome and dapper, my friend. Well done. All right. He says, scary ass, man. I thought more of you. Yeah, Keith, I ain't getting up there, bro. For real, there he is. What up, brother? How you been, For Reals? Good to see you in here, my man. Good to see you in here. Only trip Z goes on is his front yard feeding squirrels peanuts. Rich, you're on a cold streak right now that we're going to enter the ice age if you don't warm up a little bit, because your takes recently have been catastrophic. Curtis, you want to go to Rome for different reasons than I want to go to Rome. I want to go to Rome because I want to see the Vatican. That's really it. I'm interested in all of the Vatican City. That's what I want to do. I want to go to Rome. I want to go around the Vatican. And I want to explore every part of it. I'm the kind of guy that will read like all the little pamphlets that will like give you the information. I love that stuff. Yeah, Curtis, a lot of people say that though. Rome is not as good as it's talked up to be, but I want to see Rome because I'm Catholic. That's really why I want to go to Rome. Yeah, I got a lot of Italian ancestry too on my mom's side. Not on my dad's side, but on my mom's side. My mom's 100% Italian. Both of her parents were 100% Italian. Her grandparents were, all four of them were first-generation immigrants off the boat from Italy. The Vatican was wild. Didn't have the same significance to me, but it was a crazy sight. Yeah, no doubt. Crazy sight for sure. All right, everybody. I love all you guys. Lucius, nice new picture, my friend. Looking handsome. Yes, and I'll say you're handsome. Remember when I called Jalen Hurts handsome one time and everybody had an aneurysm in the chat? Oh, handsome. I'm like, what are you, 10? What is this? Wow, you were at the Vatican on a day the Pope spoke. That's electric, bro. Heard John wants to go to Thailand. That's G Santos. That's a rumor I cannot confirm or deny. Okay? I cannot confirm or deny. We will see. Go to the Amalfi Coast. Oh, I heard it's overrated. Look at this dude. Jalen is a giga Chad, if you get what I mean. I don't really. His mentality is unmatched. He is unshakable. There you go, David. There you go, David. Whatever floats your boat. All right. Everyone went diddy over that comment. So true, Kirsten. They really did, including Brian Fleming. Am I frozen again? No, I'm not. All right. I love all you guys. See you next time, everybody. Be good. All right. Treat people good. Be good to the people in your life. Make sure you call your dad, not just on Father's Day, but every day. Okay. If your dad is alive, call him. I'm going to call my dad right now. Love all you guys. See you next time.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.